I'm leaving a deliberately long gap between me clicking all the OBS buttons because for some freaking reason it still cuts off me at the end, not at the beginning. So I'm extra careful whenever I'm doing it. Seems to be working now though. Yeah, it's working, thank God. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new episode with Mark Tech. Oh my God, like my AirPods are now playing up. Should have turned off Bluetooth on all my devices, and it's working again. Yeah, it's working again. Oh my God, it's such a crazy time. I had such a long day. So I'm very happy to be back. It's a little bit of a different video, even though it continues where we left off yesterday. I don't think it will be as vitriolic as it was yesterday. I'm pretty much now gonna show you what we are doing. So basically the point is, Linus, his content is not what it used to be. And Gamers Nexus called them out, especially in the context of them opening up a large lab and making a lot of videos about that and being very, very like sure of themselves when it comes to their content there, which is fine. Sort of like some confidence is obviously not bad, and they hired people who apparently seem to know what they're doing for the most part. But even like in the last video, which was like a microphone test, people who were actual audio engineers, which I am not. I'm not an audiophile, not an audio engineer. The only thing I know for audio is like how to test it in terms of medical tests, so this is very different. That's why I recognize one type of graph, but the others are a little bit like nuclear physics to me. Granted, I do know a little bit about that. But yeah, so we have had a very energetic stream yesterday when it came to analyzing the video from Gamers Nexus about LTT. And today, I didn't expect to be doing this kind of video whatsoever. In fact, I was planning to maybe do a video on like Android 14 and One UI 6.0 and shit like that. Basically like an Apple sheep reacts to what Android has to offer this year. Stuff like that. Obviously something with a little drama, but not quite continuing the kind of drama that we are seeing here. But we do have more drama. It's not as intense as yesterday, but I do think that there's something to be analyzed here, because I do believe that both the responses from Hardware Unboxed and that of Gamers Nexus is very interesting. I think they are somewhat differently worded. Kind of in line with what Gamers Nexus was actually saying, implying that some YouTubers would not be overly harsh on Linus, so that's interesting. New episode of Hardware News from Gamers Nexus has some clarification regarding Billet Labs and the LTT response. Luke tip, look at this. Look at this magic here. Here. We already have that prepared. We are reacting to both videos today, both the new Hardware Unboxed video and the response summary basically from Gamers Nexus in their news video. I watched about half of both. As I said, very long day, sorry guys. Also very, very humid and hot day, that's why I'm sweating like a pig. Yeah, so we are definitely seeing both, but Hardware Unboxed will be the first one we react to. Is that okay for all of you? I came prepared. So yeah, the magic is real here. Yeah, so there basically isn't that much more to add. Like, we will obviously get to Linus's response when we get to Gamers Nexus video, which I think is almost the more important one. But since I was mentioning Hardware Unboxed a lot last video, basically putting them on almost the same pedestal as Gamers Nexus, I think it kind of would behoove us to actually see what those guys have to say. So once again, also I want to say a big thank you to everybody who joined us last video. I know this will not be repeated today, obviously, but yeah, we had like 20 concurrent viewers. The video had like 300 views right out of the gate, and then 1,000 views in a day. And for a small channel like mine, that's crazy. And we gained like 11 subs. And anybody who wants to sub right now or over the course of this video, of course, is also welcome. Please like, that's very good for the algorithm. And let's get to it. Please always let me know if you're happy with the audio. If you're hearing like some fan noise in the background, that's because it's hot as fuck and I do have a fan basically blowing directly at me. I did as much in software as I could to eliminate those noises, but not fully. Sorry. Love the intro, by the way, from Hardware Unboxed. It's very serene. For some reason it calms me down a little bit. So wait for this. Have to set up something here. Oh, apparently somebody of you already subbed. That's crazy shit, guys. I don't know if I have deserved it yet, but I definitely am grateful for all kinds of support from you. So yeah, let's get to it.
Welcome back to Hardware Unboxed. Steve and I have started.
That was the exploding sound.
The Hardware Unboxed podcast, which is a very imaginative
cheers.
name. But you can listen or watch the first episode right now if you are interested over on our new YouTube channel, the Hardware Unboxed podcast. So first episode is up there right now for you to enjoy. If you just want to listen to the audio version, that should also be available hopefully now, but pending that soon through all your favorite podcast apps. It is an audio format show, so you should be able to enjoy it through all of those places. But anyway, Steve and I were planning to record an episode of the show today. We thought, yeah, let's get it started, let's kick off the show. And then, of course, Gamers Nexus dropped this.
So, shout out to the new podcast from Hardware Unboxed. Small criticism, it should have been called Podcast Unboxed. Don't you think that's kind of very fitting for their nomenclature, like monitors unboxed, hardware unboxed, so podcast unboxed I think would have been kind of cool, but maybe for the YouTube algorithm they really wanted to put like their full name into it. Spiffy Chaos, hello guys, what are those names? You really want to test me, right? Like, or want to make me say like potentially bad words in some other language. But hello to whoever joined. Dream SMP, Luke Chips, Biffy Chaos, STC Live. Thank you guys all so much for being here.
Massive video talking about Linus Tech tips and their testing practices. So the first episode of the podcast does include quite a lengthy discussion, goes for over an hour, talking about that video, just our general thoughts on testing and things like that. So yeah, hopefully you guys will enjoy that discussion. But for you on the main channel, just for this one-off time, probably not going to do too many more podcast snippets on this main channel, but just for this one time, we will be putting a few snippets from that discussion after this. So
I am reacting to the snippets portion because the other video is very long. I don't think that for my kind of channel it's very relevant to be going through their testing methodology. And they definitely did include most of what was relevant, at least in my opinion. Sort of like their direct response to what is its Spiffy use. Okay. Okay. Sorry, guys. Not getting as distracted from the chat as last time. Yeah, this is basically most of their hot takes, but you will find out that most of them are not as hot as they could have been.
Yeah, if you're interested, give it a listen, see what it's like. If you like that sort of thing that we've been talking about, you find that interesting, go over, listen to the show, the full thing. It's very much like a Q&A or Patreon exclusive live stream sort of vibe. So yeah, if you're interested in that, then I'm sure that you'll find that discussion interesting. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Let's get on to the clips. That pretty much brings us to the Gamers Nexus video, because while you were sort of making some of those comments about Gamers Nexus, Linus Tech tips, testing not being necessarily up to scratch, the Gamers Nexus video is like all of that the dial has been dialed up to 10, broken, set to 12, then broken again. because there were many examples in their video.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, errors that they've made. You know, it's interesting because I see some of those errors, and I think the one thing, you know, as you said, everyone makes mistakes, right? Like, we've made mistakes on the channel, we've made corrections, and things go wrong. You know.
Yeah, this is something that I have said yesterday, and this is why I will be a little less vitriolic today as I was yesterday, which is, I think we have all by now registered that the mistakes that were, are, and will probably continue to be in Linus's videos for the foreseeable future, are inexcusable because it shows a pattern of not learning from mistakes. It's not about making any individual mistake. It's about when mistakes repeat themselves. It's about when mistakes stay in videos even though you know they are mistakes. It's about very problematic handling of when you're called out on those mistakes and then you do the absolute bare minimum to respond to that. So this is the main problem here, or those are the main problems. It's not that there are some mistakes in some LTT videos, it's that there are way too many mistakes across way too many videos, and there's not an appropriate response to how many mistakes there are, to how much they repeat themselves. And not only is the response inadequate, it then often like slides into being really bad faith, saying, oh, we are always working on improving ourselves, which clearly it's being wrong. Because if you go like 5 years back, sure, there were all obviously some mistakes, but when they had like less than half as many employees as they have now, they were producing fewer videos across fewer channels. Their clearly Linus was much more in control himself. This is when we really had a better LTT. Sure, we didn't maybe have as much like short circuit and all the other crap, but I would wager that if it all becomes worse because we need more and more of it, then we don't need any of it.
Sometimes you don't catch something, or something just doesn't go right, you make an error, you accidentally copy the wrong data into a, you know,
easy done.
to a chart.
Yeah, shit happens.
Into a spectator.
Happened to me on very important like doctoral thesis
really
stuff.
Highlighted by Gamers Nexus video, and something that we've chatted about before, is that some of the errors really should be getting caught by someone in the production pipeline. Like, yeah, just some of the margins and things are larger than what is possible from those parts. Like, you compare one GPU to another GPU and it's like 300% faster, as was shown with that.
Well, I would say that there are always like some bugs that could happen that could make some of those results true, especially if you're comparing very few components. For example, like for anybody who is like into gaming on Mac, which sounds kind of like an oxymoron, but like there's the new game porting toolkit, and it performs worse on the Ultra chips than on the Max chips, because it's currently absolutely in beta. It's not, it hadn't had like a single official release yet. It just got some updates. Follow the channel from Andrew Tsai, by the way. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And you will see that Apple is definitely working on it. But Apple's highest performing chips had some results that were around as bad as like the M1 and base M2. And there probably is some kind of issue with maybe the core setup, or maybe the latency between the two dies presents some kind of problem for the app as it currently is, and it's maybe too dumb to deactivate one of the dies and just use the other. So shit happens where you can have results that are very much in the opposite direction. Sometimes maybe like a new piece of hardware unlocks some kind of hidden feature. It wouldn't really happen with the 4090 versus the 3090 Ti, because they do have the same memories setup and stuff like that. So its performance improvement would be built on the new architecture, more cache. But let's say you have like a card that goes from like an 8 gigabyte version to a 16 gigabyte, and technically there should only be like 15 or 20% of performance between them, but then suddenly, and there's actually some testing on it from the Hardware Unboxed guys, so it's not like a unique finding that I am sharing with you. It's like, but suddenly the 16 gigabyte card performs like 3 or 4 times better, and it has no stutter. Like, just look at The Last of Us Part 1 and PC, because it isn't hitting memory bottlenecks like the 8 gigabyte card. So there can be discrepancies that go way outside of the average. But yeah, it's obviously weird when like the RTX 4090 for no reason whatsoever starts winning 3x without DLSS, without RT, versus the 3090 Ti. Even with RT and DLSS, the difference shouldn't be that big. The only option that could make that sort of true is like DLSS 3, which is like their frame doubling technology. But again, that also was supposed to be off.
A 4090 example. And then, you know, surely something like that should be being caught by someone in the production process. And I think that's where I get a bit frustrated by some of the LTT content, is when, yeah, like making a small mistake, like getting the cache of a CPU wrong because you've copied and pasted it from the wrong thing. Sure, okay, I can sort of forgive that, but you know, a major error like that, which is so visible in a chart, yeah, I guess just doesn't really show much oversight into what's going on.
Yeah, I think as Steve from Gamers Nexus said, it exposes a lack of experience, because I think...
But there shouldn't be a lack of experience anymore at Hardware Unboxed, at Linus Tech Tips. Maybe from like in some individuals that is fair to point out, but there should always be someone in the middle who watches the entire video to check it for factual mistakes, for editing mistakes, before putting it out. Yes, sure, does it add like 2 extra hours of person work time? Yes, but if your video is basically guaranteed to hit 1 million views, sometimes 2 or 3 million, then you do have a responsibility to make it as high quality as possible, even if it means potentially reducing some of your profit margins. It's like, I always go back to like Linus calling out Apple, and actually in like their recent video they almost agreed with me by saying that Apple's average margins aren't even that crazy. It mostly comes down to Apple's margins for like storage and RAM upgrades, even though obviously those margins then flow into the margins of the overall device. But like, clearly Linus is trying to get margins and basically like extract surplus labor value from his employees at every stage, because he's cutting off quality controls steps, which is completely inexcusable if you're at that level. Like for Hardware Unboxed, sure, they are a 1 million subscriber channel, but it seems to be like it's mostly just the 2 guys. It's I think they do have somebody helping with editing, right? But it's like one guy usually does the work for a video, and then the other one might look at it before publishing it. The other one might not be like the same level of expert, like Steve doesn't know monitors that much, right? But if he sees like some kind of crazy value because somebody else was like completely dehydrated and like had like 3 days of no sleep behind him, that's fine to still to have that mistakes in it, but then you do have to have some kind of quality control step before you actually publish the video. And imagine if it had happened this way, right? And Steve had actually said, oh, there is this mistake, but then they looked at each other and said, oh yeah, we are publishing this, like potentially without any real correction even included, or we will post like some kind of comment underneath. Like, this is the equivalent to some of the moves that we have discussed yesterday from LTT. And I honestly think that their calm voices, I think they're trying to do like not ASMR, but like a calming podcast voice here. They usually are a little more energetic in their like monthly Q&As. But yeah, I think that they should be a little more energetic when talking about those mistakes.
Certainly myself,
Just my
Steve
take.
from Gamers Nexus, you as well, even though you don't do a whole lot of GPU testing, that results straight away. Like you would only need to glance at that graph
Yeah.
for a nanosecond. And
Some things are
"Good
obvious, and
question.
the
There
more
seems to be
obvious it
some
is,
data
the
that
less
doesn't make
excusable
sense."
it becomes.
I don't
Guys, let me know
how
what
something like that makes
is
it
the
to
audio
the
mix
product. And
okay?
generally, when I make or do a day one review, I do that largely myself. So we've now got a video editor, Balin, who collects all
Okay,
the B-roll,
so they do
edits
now
the
have
video in, and
an extra
once he's
editor.
finished doing that, then I'll proof it and make sure there's no mistakes. But I'm just one set of eyes and one brain, and sometimes I say dumb stuff and I hear it again and it just doesn't register as being dumb stuff. So I'll get Tim to watch the content, and then
Okay,
basically once
yeah,
Alan's
so
watched it, I've watched it, and
we're
Tim's
in
watched it,
agreement.
we're pretty good to send it. And even then, sometimes something small may slip through, and I'll have to pin a comment. But generally speaking, they're usually pretty good. We certainly haven't released.
Thank you,
anything
Spiffy
like that
Kaios.
with Gamers Nexus
Glad
show,
that the
you know?
audio is fine.
But also, you know, people have brought these things to our attention before. You know, it gets posted on our Discord, and I'm talking about the LTT data being very wrong. People let us know about it. But
Yeah, this is actually one thing that I did want to call out with Hardware Unboxed here, which is I understand that like there's always some people trying to create drama between YouTubers and content creators in general, but I do think it's a little weird when you are getting like basically a ton of emails with like corrections and I assume like tweets and stuff saying like, oh look, LTT is wrong on this and on this and on this. Shouldn't you then kind of try to contact them, like correct, not like the individual mistake, but clearly point out like, dude, I'm getting a little tired of saving your ass here, which yeah, would sound a little presumptuous because obviously LTT is doing fine, but it's kind of a no-brainer to me where it's like, oh, there's this repeated pattern of clearly poor quality control to the point where not only are guys like that experts finding it out, but like laymen, people who just watch the videos find it out and then are fans enough to bring that data over to other channels, to email them, to tweet at them. So that freaking sucks to me. Like, imagine being like imagine wanting to take pride of your work if you're somebody at LTT, and then you basically now. Maybe only now, but maybe if they contacted them earlier, but then you get to know like, oh, you have so much shit in your videos, we basically have like a wall of it always coming at us to correct you. That would freaking suck, and I wouldn't want that, and I know that most of the employees at LTT wouldn't want that. So the culture at the company is not just hurting like us as consumers and viewers because we get something bad, but it's obviously hurting the people who do have a reputation that is built upon the content they publish.
my response has sort of been, I'm not the benchmark police. Like, I'm not out here to try and tear.
No, not for any individual video, but like video. Why am I saying video? But like, it's like a red letter media joke. I don't know why it's stuck in my brain. But like, if you feel that it's getting a lot, maybe you don't need to make like an expose like Gamers Nexus did, because maybe you don't feel like you're in the position yet of power to do that, which I'm so grateful to Gamers Nexus for actually doing that. But to me, this is actually like really, sorry, I will try to move my head here. Wait, okay. I think my head will do fine here, right? Okay. I don't know why. I am for some reason wasn't happy in the left lower corner. So yeah, I think that if you basically now have this to contribute, right, that you knew indirectly at least, of this, kind of should be a little more negative, I think, overall.
LTT down or point to their mistakes, because as you have acknowledged and I've acknowledged, we're only human as well. It'd be very hypocritical of us to say, oh, LTT made a mistake here.
No, it wouldn't be. Like, yes, maybe if it's for one mistake, but like, especially for the I always go back to like the 4090 3090 comparison. Like, calling that out is not hypocritical. It's very relevant consumer information that could impact buying decisions and would put more money into the hands of a company that objectively does not deserve it. Like, Nvidia has been so anti-consumer, and I'm somebody who doesn't even like the term anti-consumer when it comes to pricing, right? I use the term anti-consumer when we talk about stuff like hidden costs, artificially manipulating the supply chain and partners for price changes, having like shitty business practices in the background when it comes to interacting with the reviewer community and stuff like that. So that to me is just a no-brainer, that like Nvidia, like being a little negative to Nvidia by saying LTT was too positive on them, I think is more than fair. Arafat, hello darkness. I'm very happy to talk to you again, my old friend. My very new friend. Thank you for subscribing yesterday. I'm so glad that we can come together today again.
You know, everyone give them a hard time because we've made mistakes before. It happens. And I'm not saying either that's what Gamers Nexus were doing. Gamers Nexus were more like, look, when you call us out by name, you want to make sure.
I would have been completely fine. Like, I've said that yesterday, that Gamers Nexus used that that jab from an LTT employee basically as pretext for making their own video on them. I don't actually think that Gamers Nexus needed that video as justification to make their own expose on them, because I think the problems at LTT are so pervasive and so visible to so many people that it's kind of a no-brainer that at some point they would be called out by a relatively large content creator who creates somewhat similar content, right? Because at some point, if you're like a 500,000 subscriber guy, you just start enough money to do this as your full-time job. Again, this isn't talking about Gamers Nexus specifically, right? But like, you put a lot of work into this individually. You obviously don't. Maybe you have like one guy who helps you with editing from time to time. It's always a risk for you to buy hardware and to review it, because you never know if a video will like recoup those costs, because you don't have a guaranteed viewer base that large. And then imagine putting like double and triple the amount of work into each video in comparison to Linus Tech Tips, because Linus Tech Tips will tell you that he will not want to pay another $100 to $500 of manpower to his employees, and he will deliberately let mistakes stay there, and he will do the laziest corrections, and he will angrily react when completely fairly called out. Imagine being like a mid-tier content creator, not even a small one. I would say that us small fishes, I'm like an like nothing. I'm like an oxygen molecule in comparison to everything else in the content creator space. But let's say everybody above like 10,000, right? Okay, those people, they were never going to compete for LTT's audience anyway. But the larger channels who are putting more work into it, making more sure that the work is high quality, of course it sucks that LTT could get away with this. We had people in the... I'm so sorry, guys. It's the Coke again, but I needed it. Otherwise, I would have fallen asleep. But we had people in the chat yesterday. Sorry, my cat is deathly afraid of the storm that is coming. Bella, what the freak are you doing? Come here. Come here. I hope she comes. She's so afraid. I'm sorry, guys. She's such a little cutie, but she hates storms. A little bit more volume on the video. Arafat, sorry, I didn't catch that. I made it a little... I think it's because my own hearing is a little too... basically, I react too strongly to loud volume. I put the volume up. Hope that's okay now. So yeah, sorry I got distracted by my cat. Hope I can show you her a little later. So yeah, I think it's definitely fair for people to get pissed, even in the content creator space. Viewers obviously should have been pissed off long ago, but if you have the power of like 15 or 16 million subs, it's obviously a different topic. So I'm very glad that some people are trying to leverage their own power, even though it's like a fraction of what LTT has. And I do wish that Hardware Unboxed would be a little more outspoken here.
As I said earlier, that all of your stuff is buttoned up and perfect. And here is some really bad things that you've overlooked, and here's some of the smaller stuff. And Steve said, look, the smaller stuff, you know, we can kind of forgive, pin a comment, we make mistakes as well, but you can't have these big huge errors regularly happening and, you know, name us as one of the media outlets that you do something better than. Like, you know, Gamers Nexus I consider to be the golden standard for day one reviews. They're certainly up there as some of the best day one reviews. And yep, if I was ever going to call Gamers Nexus out and say, we do something better, or I want to see this better from Gamers Nexus, I'd want to make sure that my last 6 videos had been pretty well flawless. So, as you say, you open yourself up to criticism there when you make those comments. And look, if I made a comment about LTT often being wrong or having issues, and I did that in a tweet or a video, then yeah, if people pointed out that we make mistakes as well, I'd just cop that on the chin. I'd be like, yeah.
But again, like, this is a very like liberal point. Like, oh, you're being hypocritical, therefore your point is not valuable. That is not an actual debate tactic. Like, somebody who comes from the most hypocritical position could still make a relevant point that is completely based on facts, is completely truthful, is not even coming that much in bad faith. Being hypocritical is not automatically the same as coming in bad faith. Maybe you're just lazy on your own side, but really care about another content creator doing it right. Arafat, very glad that the volume is now perfect. No, it's fine. My AirPods are on transparency mode. I previously had them on what is it called? On noise cancellation mode when testing it, and then it was very intense. Then I changed it very shortly before the stream, and I didn't notice that I now wasn't obviously feeling uncomfortable at all. So that's great. I love AirPods Pro. Strong recommendation, guys. Hashtag ad for Apple. That's what you can expect on this channel, I guess. No, but seriously, like, it's fine for him to call out. If it's not going to be guys like you, then who else?
Making mistakes is fine. No issue with making mistakes, but making mistakes is a learning exercise. You make a mistake, and it's all about your response and how you learn from that and improve for next time. And I swear that every time that we have made some sort of error, especially a bigger error, something that would require us to edit a video, take down a video, pin a correction. So not like copying a table wrong, so you get a spec wrong, but like a data error or something like that. You learn from that for next time. So you sort of go, oh, well, you know, I didn't quite correctly, you know, configure that game. So the testing data turned out to be wrong, or, you know, we realized too late that every time you restart the game, the settings changes. So
yeah, exactly. And that kind of bug, especially if it happened like with the latest version of Windows or a specific game, maybe if you're using some kind of very specific test software, we're talking like CPU testing, right, Cinebench, Geekbench, stuff like that. I don't see a single problem if you have results that are actually repeatably wrong. And because, for example, Hardware Unboxed, I know that they do at least like all tests 3 times. So there is some averaging there and some repetition, which is awesome for the scientific method. But sometimes bugs can be so pervasive that it all feels basically that it all scales correctly, but it starts at the completely wrong base level, or maybe the base level for some individual tests are correct, but then like repeatedly, like after 15 minutes, you have some crazy results, or maybe in a specific moment in the game, suddenly the engine acts up and kills like your average frame time, which obviously if you're comparing which obviously when you are comparing very different architecture GPUs could also apply to one of those GPUs, maybe just the 4090 which you just got in your hand, but maybe not the previous generation, which even though it's still NVIDIA, like would have obviously some different drivers behind it. So yeah, some tests will fuck you up in real science, in more like content creator science, like objectively, like YouTube, like I use like YouTube Studio to monitor how well the channel is doing. Like it's wrong so much, like and I know it's wrong, like some bars don't move when they should, even though the data has changed somewhere else, but now I basically know where the data is fucked and where I shouldn't look at all and where I actually should look. And that's kind of what happens with experience, and I think that with the constant cycle of getting new people in, trying to get some people to write, some people to edit, some people to stand in front of the camera, basically a lot of people at LTT are not playing to their strengths, like and it's a shame that not only are they not playing to their strength, but then they aren't given enough time, they aren't given sometimes the proper resources, so it's a mess. Arafat, what are you saying I should be aware of, or what I might be already aware of? Looking at the chat, guys. Thankfully, my internet seems to be a little better yesterday. Yesterday it was like dropping into like the 3000 kilobits, which was not enough always to sustain good quality from what I understand. But it seems to be at like 10,000 today, which is good. I also downloaded like some lower quality video. Like yesterday I had like the full quality MKV thing, so yeah. Billet Labs actually sent a 30, yeah, I heard that actually, that they sent the 3090 Ti along with it. Yes, I heard that. Which I still understand the desire to test it with the card that will give you more clicks, right? If Linus says, if they put like in the title, we tested this crazy copper cooling thing on the 4090, I think it will automatically get them more clicks than on the 3090 Ti. And Linus is obviously interested in views first and foremost, because this is the problem here. The morality is that their work should be about testing this individual product. Especially since it's a prototype. No prototype will like apply to every solution out there. That's simply not the role of a prototype. And a good content creator or a good reviewer in general should understand that and be very, very cordial, very, very like forgiving of some of the missing things of a prototype, right? We aren't even talking about the specific prototype, but like you should understand that if you're giving something for the 3090 Ti, if this was an end consumer product, something that is ready, Linus could say, no, we are not reviewing it because we think that nobody should buy it for a 3090 Ti, get us a 4090 version, or we are not reviewing it, right? Okay, that's okay. But this is a prototype. It's a small company. It's basically like their blood and sweat like put into this copper object. The fact that Linus would then ignore all of this, how it's really used, with what it's really used, and then auction it the fuck off, like, I understand that this is the most egregious thing, and obviously it's not a mistake that will happen all the time. But by the way, this is a mistake that will not happen all the time because of Linus's deep relationship. They didn't put even like the 1490 in the title. Then they're idiots, Luke Tip. I'm sorry. If you are misusing a product, and if you are putting even more work on yourself because you now have to like cut off parts and shit so that the 1490 fits in well and stuff like that, that the dice at least somewhat match with like the attachment mechanism. If you don't even put 1490 in the title, then you're a fucking moron. Like, then you have hurt yourself and the people do that. It's completely nonsensical to me that somebody could do that and not even try to benefit from this. The fact that his excuse in the forum was, we didn't sell it, we auctioned it. This is actually, we will get to that in a few minutes when we get to Gamers Nexus video. But like, yeah, like Linus has now become the king of corporate speak. I've said that yesterday where I said like, Linus was once really, really good at calling out corporate talk, right? Like the likes of false advertisement, misleading promises, overstating your own capabilities, and heavily generalizing stuff, right? Like saying, oh, we have great customer support, but only in the US, right? And then Linus will be like, no, we have like viewers in that and that country, and you gave them like shitty customer support. So yeah, like I have no idea, like, and now he is the king of that. What I wanted to say, it's going back to like, when we are saying it has never been as bad as what Linus did with that prototype, I would actually wager we have no way of knowing, because most of the stuff that Linus tests comes from big companies. And Linus is notorious for opening up shit when companies are telling him not to. And he is using his power as a 15-16 million subscriber channel just for LTT, obviously all the subscribers for Tech Wikis, Short Circuit, etc. And Linus deliberately breaks NDAs on screen, and the reason why he gets away with it and why he gets like a pat on the back, both in a positive and like in a negative sense, it's because those companies, yes, the people who are working directly with Linus from those companies, they know that Linus is this way, and maybe some of it is played for joke. But it's very clear that Linus does things that he technically isn't allowed to do because of the power of his channel. And we have also seen that companies are much nicer to him, either because he is coming, like in those trade shows, he's approaching them, it's Linus Media Group, and they are already filming, and on camera, he is basically debating with those people the points of what he is allowed to do or not, basically putting them on the spot that if they don't give him the permission to pull their prototypes apart and shit, that they will be cooked by people online. Right? And because it's not just, of course, HP and Dell, they have more power than Linus by themselves. But those individual people, those sales reps, those people basically responsible for a smooth trade show, they don't. And they get afraid and then allow Linus to do more things that they allow to do for smaller channels and even some other large channels, because those are not as abrasive and will not misuse their power that much. So there's a lot coming together. The reason why we know of this prototype is because it's a small company, we have more sympathy for them, and because the auctioning was like a very egregious public stuff. But when it comes to just mistreating a good piece of technology because Linus just wanted to change the rules of the game, he's basically Darth Vader, right? I'm altering the deal, pray I don't alter it any further, right? And that sucks, because that's what we know about, because now we do have a culture where Linus gets called out more, but this comes after years and years of Linus becoming more and more egregious in how he approaches his sponsors and shit. And by the way, this is why he has such close relationship with sponsors, because they will forgive him that shit because they are featured on his channel, and he will be extra charitable to them because they're giving him money. So there's a big interplay between big companies and LMG. If you're a small company, if you're a new company, if you cannot have that kind of relationship, then forget it, basically. Luke Tip can post a link, but the title is "Who Let Them Do This?" The $800 solid corporate cooler. Yeah, I actually remember that. Luke Tip, I don't think, like, you could try posting the YouTube link. I think YouTube links work in the live chat. I think no other links work. I think that's because people post like porn and gambling shit in all kinds of chats. So that's why I think most websites basically block the usage of any kind of external links.
By the time we got to production, it turns out that we had overlooked that. So next time we're going to make sure we go through and we check every setting after every restart, and even things like monitor testing where, you know, we miss things like scan lines in a monitor or something. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't really have much of a test process for that. So people bring it into your attention. You're like, you missed this in your content. You didn't cover this. It's a really important deal breaker flaw or something. So you implement that for the next time. And I think one of the issues with the LMG stuff, again, isn't making the mistakes. It's that...
Yeah, and Luke Tip, you're saying that not even putting like the 4090 in the title is probably a disconnect between the presenter/writer and the uploader. Yeah, that is actually a big part of the general criticism here. It's that the content creation cycle basically exists at LTT only to make a video. Like, yes, and then to create an attention grabbing title, sure, but I would say quality control is not the priority, and even like a proper understanding of the video is not a priority for like anybody involved in then like actually posting it. So I'm absolutely not surprised that they didn't put 4090 in the title, now that I know basically how poorly managed it has all gotten. And again, it's not just Linus's fault. At some point, the company, for what it is, can get too big. And this is why I've always admired big, successful companies who operate with a relatively small amount of people. Obviously, some of that is cost cutting, but a lot of that has to do with internal efficiency. Sometimes 4 people work faster than 5 people if you know that those 4 people will more quickly find an agreement together. And we're talking here about a difference of 20/25% more/less people, but that's how it works. It then becomes a snowball. If you think that where 4 people are enough, then you start to think maybe 5 people will do it better, and it becomes your solution for everything. And your solution is then, oh, maybe 6 people will now do it better and 7 people will do it better. This is how you end up with 120 people creating what basically feels like the same video over and over again. Pretty sure if links are blocked, YouTube related links will also be held for moderation. Yeah, that I think that's actually relatively true, because some people I think you can like post YouTube links in the comments in the actual comment section once the video is like there, it's uploaded, but in the live chat it's not, because of the potential of abuse, because children could be watching shit like that, because obviously the moderation process during a live chat is very different here. Linus is a corporate guy first, and they don't apologize. That's actually JJ Chili Dogs. That's actually wrong. I don't know who here is a South Park fan, but like corporate guys apologize all the time. But the point of corporate apologies is they don't mean anything, right? Do you remember like that South Park bit about the guy who the oil rig belonged to, and he was like, "We are sorry, we didn't don't mean to put like trillions of liters of oil into the natural ecosystem, but look at how cute I am, basically. This is corporate apologia that actually works relatively well. Like, you can make like snippets out of it. Stupid people believe anything anyway, so why bother with doing something believable? It's like corporate apologia. Like, we even had like corporate people will even apologize for stuff that they absolutely shouldn't apologize for. Like, Budweiser sort of apologized for sending a beer can to Dylan Mulvaney. Why? It's one beer can that you sent to a content creator who you worked with. Like, you should be calling out the bullshit from people if you stand by any of the morals you try to say you do. But now, no, we don't want to anger anyone, right? Do you know this? This is corporate apologia 101, and Linus isn't even doing it well anymore. It has gone this far for him. Look, tip, 100 plus employees for a couple of YouTube channels is just too much. I agree. Look at Gamers Nexus. They have like 8 people. I think 6 to 8. If they had 6 to 10 dedicated per channel and a slower upload schedule, a lot of problems would be instantly fixed. 100%. 100%. Arafat, there's also an official statement from Billet Labs on our Linus Tech subreddits. Would like to know your thoughts on that as well. Arafat, do you know if that is mentioned in the Gamers Nexus video? Or I do have basically my screen prepared so that we can later go on the Linus Tech subreddit. But yeah. Do you know if it's mentioned by Gamers Nexus? So that then I would know I wouldn't have to do that. JJ Chili Dogs, 20 plus 5 videos that they rushed out so fast without oversight. Well, you cannot have oversight, right? With so many videos, even with 120 people, some of them are on vacation, some of them might be sick. Some of them are probably working on like longer term projects, even if they aren't working on a specific video now. Some are working to fix Linus's freaking house. Some are working on building the lab. So of course, 25 videos per week, that will leave like 50 people working on that shit. And that's like, yeah, that's one people probably writing, the other one in front of the camera, and then like obviously the camera personnel, I assume that's somewhat stable, right? And the editing is like done also by a predictable group of people. It's not always people coming in and out to edit. It's like, of course, that's way too little oversight. Okay, Arafat, then we will check out the Gamers Nexus video after this, and if you still have some like very relevant things that you think we should add from the company, then we will go to LTT subreddit. I think that's fair, isn't it? Yeah, and then there's also like channel super fun. It's like and of course JJ Chili Dogs, the next WAN show is not going to be lit because Linus will be ignoring this. He already said this much, which is a shame because I would actually love to be live reacting to the WAN show, but I think he will do like corporate apologia for like 5 minutes where he will say like, I don't want to. Okay, guys. Let me be Linus here. I know what some people want me to address here, but I hate to disappoint you. I'm not doing the Canadian accent here, and Linus's Canadian accent isn't even then pronounced. But like, I'm sorry, but. The video from Gamers Nexus had some fair points in it. I will not deny that. We make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. And the larger our channels get, the more people we have, the more mistakes we will have in big transition periods like we are right now. But we are building the lab. Something that nobody else is doing quite the same way. Was it bad that the employee called out Gamers Nexus? Yeah, I think that's bad, but ultimately our automated testing process will be unique in the industry, and we will even share it with other creators to make it easier for smaller creators to create content. that's something that nobody else is doing, and that's something, the power that I will that I have, that I want to get back to the community that has given so much to me. And ultimately, it's about the community. It's not about beef between content creators. It's about us. It's about me representing LMG, but also trying to represent quality to all of you, and also trying to defend my employees who are putting a ton of work. And I apologize if I have ever made them do something that allowed it to have more mistakes in their content. I will gladly put that on myself. You know that I've been doing this for like 20 years now. But overall, I think that a video like this does not help us. We as content creators, we should be sticking together. We should be helping each other to get better, not trying to call each other out. I could do that to other content creators too. I don't do that. I have a life. I have a wife. I have 50 channels here to maintain. That's basically it. Do you guys should I clip this? Is this basically like this is what I think what Linus will do, and then he will end it, and then he will ignore any further questions about this. Is this fair? Unlike the other channels, it's a peer channel. Superfun is random and requires people from other channels to give up their current. Yeah, I watched like 2 videos on channel Superfun. I never liked it. I think there was a time when they were basically not posting there anything at all. Maybe they were like trying to put that more in like float plane and shit, which I also don't watch. So yeah, it's a mess. Some of their channels have clearly no idea behind them. It starts to border on like Elon Musk level of obsession with doing more, kind of like making Twitter into like a banking platform and everything else. It's like Linus wants to make like a longer term review channel and a shorter term one, and one for immediate impressions and one for long term impressions, and one explaining channel and one news oh yeah, they do have also like tech news, right? Or is it like there's like Tech Wiki, and that's like the, or is it, which channel is which, right? It's like Tech Wiki. I think it's the one where it's like the 5-minute video summarizing a topic, right? That's the point of being quickie. And then it's like, oh, Tech Linked, right? It's like their news channel. I hope I got that right. That's way too much. Like, and it's also, by the way, it's literally to some degree taking out the bread from some other content creator's mouth, who was like, okay, I could never do reviews like Linus because I don't have access to all the hardware. But maybe what I have is like, I do have a lot of time on my hands, so I will be reacting to all news. And then somebody else is like, well, I cannot do all the in-depth content because I work as a full-time engineer, but because I'm an engineer, I can do like really great explainer videos. And now that market basically belongs also to Linus, which, sure, that's like how capitalism works. Bigger fish eat smaller fish. But at some point, like, even a whale has to be saturated to a degree. I feel like particular videos should be split up for those channels. What's the point of MAC address? MAC address has no point. Guys, if you want to make this a crazy video, I can later, maybe not this video, but maybe sometimes later. I do have an old video. It's currently private on my channel, so you cannot see it. It's a video that I made. It's called Linus Apple Tips. It's when Linus announced the creation of MAC address, and I was saying that with how much work Linus has and with how little understanding he has of Apple, that he shouldn't be doing it. He should be trying to create as much quality, he should be trying to put as much quality into the limited amount of Apple content that he does, and not try to double and triple their Apple related output, because clearly that would require them hiring very different people and stuff like that. Yeah, and I was completely right, by the way. Their regular reviews state on state on LTT, so MAC address is starving for some high quality Apple content, or even some high relevance Apple content, and every other channel seems to be getting more Apple content than MAC address. But by the way, like their news content is certainly has a lot of Apple. LTT has a lot of Apple, so it's crazy. Yeah, so maybe I should at some point react to my own video, breaking down those points and adding points that add to what we're seeing now. Arafat agrees with me, saying MAC address is useless and awful. Literally no useful information comes out of that, and I'm not even big on Apple, and I realized that right away. You see? Can you imagine how that feels for me? Like, I'm basically like standing above MAC address and looking some Apple related issue being covered there. And I actually don't dislike like that red-haired guy who does that. He does have some charisma, but still not enough. But I'm looking at this, and I'm basically like the Godfather meme, looking at this and like, look at how they massacred my boy, right? I'm looking at this and I'm thinking like, the fuck happened here? Like, did you really not consult anybody outside the one guy who likes Apple? Oh, by the way, I did mention like Anthony last video. Her name is Emily Young, and Emily actually has a good grasp on Apple topics. For example, her breakdowns on like iPad OS I actually found more useful than Telos of Tech's iPad videos, which he for some reason blindly hates on iPad all the time, while Emily's content was actually quite helpful. So yeah, there is some expertise here, but it's very clearly not being utilized properly. And then the more people you stack on top of the qualified people, it's basically they're like Atlas or Hercules, and they're having to carry those people on their shoulders as well. And so it hurts them. It doesn't even allow the other people to properly develop, and it's all becomes shit. Silicon Magic saying, yeah, MAC address could be much better. Luke Tip, some personal stuff from you. I worked as an audio engineer in a TV studio for a big company. Well, you could be fixing my audio then. And we had a policy that every video we released had multiple revisions in editing with at least 4 people watching it for review. Yes, that is TV standards. Movies have even higher standards. From what I understand, it's like Hollywood productions. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that like basically at Linus it's 0. Or it's like one guy who's like on his 5th cup of coffee, not carrying it all, and basically like rubber stamping each upload. Spifikaios, I just remembered Gameling is a thing that just recently came out. I haven't watched a single Gameling video. Oh my god, yikes, so much yikes here.
They're making mistakes and then repeating the mistakes in a future video, so they're not necessarily learning.
I hate warm coke
from making those sorts of errors. So you know, many of those examples that Gamers Nexus brought up were over quite a span of time where there were inconsistencies, people not noticing.
Also, like GigaChat Steve from Gamers Nexus just picked a random video, like their 5600X 3D review, and found mistakes there. So it wasn't like a video, like maybe he had some hunch that there was something wrong here, but I'm inclined to believe him. He just basically like closed his eyes, found the video, found the mistakes, and ripped it to shred. Oh my god. He's basically like actual Jesus, going against like people misusing the church for financial businesses. Our tech Jesus is like ripping bad financial practices that impact on content creator integrity. Guys, we have 2 new subs. Like, let yourself know who here subscribed. Let me give you a heart again. Like, I want to show you my appreciation. How do I do that so that it comes up? It didn't come. Why is it not working? How about this? Have I turned it off? Okay, it seems to work, but not for every effect. Or maybe I'm just stupid. Maybe my hands are so fat that I cannot form a heart properly. So yeah, there's a lot of shit coming together that I honestly don't think should still be happening once you are as big.
Results that don't make sense.
Or even like mid-sized. I understand that there are some unique problems from getting larger and larger, but like around the 5 million subs, you should be basically at like your perfect A game. And then maybe some smaller extra mistakes from hiring more people. Once you are the size of Linus, you shouldn't be having mistakes in basically every single video you make at this point.
And I would have thought that after, let's say, the 4090 example was brought up, where they had the 300% greater, you know, that chart was shown.
Yes, Farmer G, I think you are might be joining us only now. You're saying it's less about the mistakes and how you deal with them and learn from them. We are not talking about any individual mistakes. Like the reason why I bring up the 4090 example, it's because I think it's a very visible one. It's one very easy to understand. Stuff like the wrong caches in the 5600X 3D video, and also throughout other videos, there are very similar mistakes. Those are just examples. But at the very beginning of the stream, I've repeatedly said, and Hardware Unboxed also said that too, so we are all in agreement here, it's about Linus and with him Linus Media Group clearly not learning, clearly still doubling down now that we have stuff like Game Linked as well, right? So there is so much potential for shit to go wrong and so little things done to correct the mistakes that we know will be happening. This is why we are angry. If they had made one video with 20 mistakes, but it was one video like that, I would laugh at the video and be done with it. I would never support that being drama. I would think, oh, maybe the person who was making it was like depressed that evening. Maybe somebody was like on drugs or anything. Shit happens, right? Like there's this Joaquin Phoenix video where he thinks he has a frog on his head. It's obviously not representative for him all the time, but he clearly was on shrooms that evening. So yeah, I will not hold it against him when I'm watching Napoleon, which is, by the way, looks so awesome. But yeah, it just blows my mind that those mistakes keep piling up. You should put a little heart out of cupboard that you can... I think the algorithm is specifically made for like hand gestures. Maybe this will work now, like this. Why it's not working? I should also say I am working with a beta here, so it's okay. If for some reason it caught the heart against the backdrop of my black T-shirt, what about a heart against here? Okay, so I am just stupid and you should forget. Okay, so this apparently created some hearts too. Apparently I'm just stupid and my freaking sausage fingers cannot create the heart. And I'm also running on the macOS Sonoma beta. So it's basically we're all at fault. It's kind of how mistakes happen at Linus Tech Tips. It's a systemic issue.
That you would then implement having someone knowledgeable about the product reviewing the videos so that those things don't get caught. But then you see there's more examples. There's another example and another example. And it seems like LMG has got some internal issues there where I guess they're not able to implement that. There's just not the experience there. There's not the right process. There's not the right person there. I don't think it's like Linus's fault specifically. Like it's not.
Yes, it is. And I don't mean that it's his fault for every individual mistake. But I think the corporate culture, with him being the absolute majority owner, with him having served as CEO for so many years, the point of growing the channel, and then you worry that the cost of growing the channel might basically not make it worth growing the channel. And I don't mean LTT, I mean like the channel conglomerate that he basically has. You could have 40 employees working on like 3 channels, with some personnel obviously being like always clear. Somebody will always be sick, somebody will always work in something long term. That's fine, you had to have a little bit of overhead, but like that would be perfectly fine to me. And then with his popularity, he could make sure, okay, we have like Linus Tech Tips, of course. We have Tech Wiki, and maybe we do like Tech Wiki only once a month because there aren't even that many topics. We have like Short Circuit for a quick impressions video, but we are not doing content as regularly as right now. And then maybe if we really find one guy who really loves tech news, who is really telegenic, because that's what I hate about like TechLinked. Like they put like every guy in front of it, and I'm sorry, they are not all equally telegenic. They don't all have the same kind of speech pattern that is very, like, again, going back to like a South Park joke when they were like forcing Tolkien to talk white because those freaking assholes told them that people want to see black people on the news but not hear them, right? Sure, that's racist as fuck and that's completely wrong. But on a non-racial issue, there are some people with voices suited for news. I know I don't have a voice like that. And then there are people who are. And putting every random employee in front of the camera in hope that it's basically like the equivalent of like throwing a toast with like jam onto the wall and seeing if it hits it with like the jam side and then sticks. Like that's not how you do quality content production. And especially like after a year or two with the channel, you definitely should know who the people are who shouldn't be in front of the camera doing new stuff. So LTT, TechWiki, TechLinked, GameLinked, MAC address, LMGC, CSF. Wait, which of them is even like channel? It's CSF's channel superfan, and TJM. Oh my god. Oh Jesus Christ. I hate Riley. I don't even like Riley. Who of you is like really familiar? There's like this blonde guy who does some tech, who does some Short Circuit video. By the way, did you Short Circuit? It's like Short Circuit even in the video. Spiffy did you forget Short Circuit here, or am I crazy? So yeah, Riley definitely, by the way, is not a news guy, but I think he works in some tech videos. His acting is like, it's like, ugh. But it can work when he isn't really like forced to act. But yeah, like Linus has also gotten progressively better. So, but again, I don't want to hate on that one blonde guy. So yeah. Oh yeah, there's also LMG clips. Yes, of course, yeah. So then again, it's nice that everybody in the staff gets at least... Yes, Silicon Magic, I'm not saying that it's not about not having a chance to shine, show some of your hidden potential. What I am saying is once you are like 2 to 3 years deep into the one specific channel, by that point you should know which guy is actually suited for news or for tech explainers or for regular videos, because you clearly kept them on for some reason, right? But it's very clear that some are better in some things than others. It's a very simple human truth. It's not actually evil to say that. Even Linus himself, after all those years, honestly sucks at some of those things. I think some of it has to do with like that he took basically a hiatus, and I think he basically unlearned some stuff. But like his actual like live testing, for example, Linus is always a degree of charismatic, but like when he was testing out that keyboard and he was like, oh, they're using like a cheap sticker on here, right? And like yeah, sorry, you're a bad live reviewer, live reactor, if you're saying this and not even attempting to try to scratch it off. That's a level of quality control, of immediate reaction that you should have if you're doing live content. I correct myself when I find myself saying something wrong. Similarly to if you're an editor, you should have a feel for of the flow of text, the flow of conversation, and those are all individual strengths, and we don't need Riley in every single type of channel that Linus creates, and especially not that blonde guy. Yeah, so 9 channels, Spifficaius, thank you, that's way too much.
On Linus, it's a management and organizational thing at the company, and about how they're producing things and how that differs from a company like Gamers Nexus.
Which of it is scripted? Look, Tip, do you mean like the Linus video? No, I think that was like in some kind of build thing, right? I think just because it was like edited afterwards doesn't mean it was scripted.
That only has, I mean, they have like 6-7 employees. There's not as many steps to get content out, so there's a lot, there's going to be people closer to making.
Farmer G basically makes a perfect point here. He only watches LTT for entertainment, which, by the way, Gamers Nexus explicitly said that the criticism they're applying here comes because LTT is trying to break out of the entertainment-only distinction. I have repeatedly called them infotainment, but like, is it Alex? I will quickly look it up. Alex LTT. No, I like Alex. Alex is great. He's actually funny. He's actually really telegenic. Like in a sort of like subdued way. He doesn't like overdo it. I think they rightfully put him on a lot of short circuit content. No, nothing against Alex and nothing against okay. LTT employees. Oh my god. Okay, nothing against Emily. Nothing against. Oh, I found a bad guy. Okay, also nothing against. No. Alex is the engineer guy who is doing a lot of the crazy cooling stuff, and I actually like him. No. Oh my god, my internet is super slow for some reason. Why can't I find it? Here, I found the guy who I didn't like. It's nope. Wait, yeah, Alex Clark is great. Oh yeah, David. I don't like David. Who's the cinematographer? Okay, he's the cinematographer. Why the fuck are you putting him in front of the camera all the time? Like, Jake. Okay, Jake. I will go. Who's Jake? Oh my god, that list is so long. You mean the producer for Short Circuit? I don't even fully remember him. I like Dennis also a lot. Yeah, they definitely have a lot of blonde guys. I am not saying that this was the only blonde guy, but that was the only. Okay, guys, tell me, do you want me to put my Mac screen on this, and then we go through which people we like there and which we don't? Is this something that we should do right now? Because I do have the screen prepared for this. Okay, I will show the pic. Okay, good. I'm going to OBS and I'm putting my screen here. My video. Nope. Yes, I'm putting this on top. And we're going to Chrome. Now, no, not Chrome. I actually have that open in Safari now. Okay, good. Do you see it now? I hope it shows on the stream. Dennis is great. It's actually funny because Dennis is like a camera guy, right? But he's like comes from very early LTT days, and he is great. So, okay, now the stream seems to be catching up with, so I will check if it, like, basically does what I wanted to do. Yes, and it works. Okay, so, Linus is great. I think Linus is great. He has definitely learned a lot, so not much criticism here, right? Yvonne is golden, right? It's amazing how much she had helped Linus. It's amazing how much she put of herself into the company. I don't know enough about Nick. From what I understand, he's an operating officer, so he works a lot with like sponsors and the LTT store. Colton is like the joke guy for like getting fired, so that's different. Edsel, have no idea who that is. He's the head of production. James, James is okay, could be better, but like he's the head of writing. Yeah, it kind of, for one, you have one head of writing for this entire channel. That's kind of for all of those channels. That's not enough. Really? You have only one head of writer? You should have like you should have like 3 heads of writers, one just for LTT, one for like Tech Wiki and Tech. Like, okay, now I understand why everything starts to flow together. If James is overseeing most of it and then they're like basically copy pasta, like his way of doing jokes, that explains a lot. Bridget, don't know her. She's a design manager, so I assume that she works on like things like their hoodies and stuff like that. Adam, a little boring, but not egregiously so. I don't want to get personal here, but like like Marcus is an editor, so yeah, it explains why I wouldn't have seen much of him. Riley, we did address Riley already. Alright, so Riley can be very hit or miss. Jamie, logistics. Emily, editor. Sarah is a graphic designer, but Sarah is actually fun when she was like, I think it was Sarah in the Secret Shopper video, right? Sarah Butt. Okay, so yeah, you see some guys only in sponsor segment. Yeah, it makes sense, right? Sponsor segments are such a big part of LTT that if you basically get like delegated to sponsor spots, you will still have work for your entire life. Alex, Alex was the blonde guy you thought I meant, but no, Alex is great. And if anybody should have been head writer from everything, it should have been Alex, but I still don't think that there should be just one head writer for the entire channel, for all the entire channels. This is the guy I don't like. Is it just me? Guys, please comment. We now have 12 people watching. So can you tell me if you think that this cinematographer guy, who very clearly put a lot of his love to be behind the camera to create the perfect shot, is it really worth it to then put him in front of the camera where he comes off smug and then also make him read out wrong stuff so that he doesn't just look not super telegenic, but then also comes off stupid? That's not his mistake, by the way. I don't think he writes anything of what he presents. But like, imagine not being the perfect guy to be in front of the camera, but then having to read bad stuff too. Okay, Luke Chip, no idea who that is. Okay. So I think that says a lot about how memorable he is as well. Emily, God tier. That's the guy that did the Ponech video. Yes, that's why I was reminded of him the last video. So Colton is the true evil guy here because he's in charge of development of the channel. You think he is like the neoliberal, like infinite growth guy there? That like Linus is like, no, we have enough. And it's like Colton being like the little devil on his shoulder. And it's like, no, we can have game linked. And Linus is like, what is that? And like Colton is like, I have no idea, but it's a good name for yet another another channel. Do you think that it's like that with Colton? Honestly, I think Colton has a lot of work. Like, he probably has to be involved with like hiring people and shit. And if you have to oversee that much, I agree, fire Colton. Could you imagine if that was actually the solution? I know, Luke Tip, that it was sarcasm. Could you imagine if like the solution to all the problems was actually to fire Colton, if the meme was actually true? Oh my god, that would be funny. So yeah, David, get back behind the camera. It's apparently not an insult, because that's what you're clearly educated for. Emily, God tier content, the best Apple content creator at Linus Tech Tips, at Linus Media Group. So absolutely no notes on her. Nicole, production supervisor, again, not something I'm familiar with. I think I've seen like Lloyd in one video. He's a product designer. Jake, super lovable, again, big dude, very charismatic, loves to call out Linus and dropping shit, very funny, absolutely fair to have him as one of the good ones. John Martin, don't remember him. Mark Gerber, he's an editor, so probably he doesn't appear much in front of the camera. Andy is a production supervisor, so I've seen him in very few videos. Natalie, oh my, can you imagine being like a content creation company and like 25% of your employees have like something with product and shipping in their name? That's like the sign that you're in a very different business at this point, my dude. Hoffman, don't remember him that much. Alex, neither do I remember him that much. Head of labs, so he basically has to be carrying a lot of shit now on his shoulders. Ooh. Silicon Magic, what do you mean? Did you miss something? Did you have to go? We are still going through the list. Nicholas Kalanian, logistics, okay. Matt, product coordinator. Marketing lead, sales supervisor, engineering manager, event coordinator, customer service, short circuit producer, engineer, logistics manager. Okay, Nicholas is like the one next guy. He does like a lot of the monitor stuff, right? I think he has grown a little bit into his role. I haven't watched much new content, so maybe he got like better, even better, right? But he wasn't bad by the last time I watched something. They're like customer service supervisor. We had like one guy for his like customer service, and the next one is like customer service supervisor. I really hope we get like more regular customer service people, because either way, that way it looks like this guy only exists to supervise this guy. Sven Peters Roturdnik, account lead. Anthony is now Emily. Here. Emily is God tier. Where do we have Emily Young? Am I stupid? Where she was like on this side, wasn't she? Yeah, like maybe we'll find the other producers, by the way. Yeah, Thian Chai, by the way, glad you're joining. Here, Emily is a writer, and she is awesome. And I think she's still taking a time out because of her transition, which I wish her all the best for. Emily has her own channel. You can check that out. It's actually called Emily Young. Yeah, so basically the person you knew as Anthony is now Emily Young. And she said that she would be returning to LTT at some point. I think even like relatively shortly. Or has she already made some kind of appearance? I think she kind of would be a godsend for that kind of PR nightmare that they are in. So yeah, I didn't miss Anthony. I got used to the Anthony. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. By the way, this is not transphobia. If you obviously knew that person as Anthony, it's of course fine for you to think of her as Anthony for a while, as you internalize that now this person is Emily. I've said last stream that if you're a homophobe, transphobe, sexist, racist, if you say any of that shit in my channel, channel chat and stuff, I will freaking ban you without a second thought. But if you are just a good person trying to learn, if you are maybe not familiar with somebody's transition, that's 100% fine. To me, it was also a little confusing how it was worded when Emily came out as basically transitioning from being Anthony. So it's like, yeah. It can be difficult. I don't blame any of you, but I think anybody who is now part of this channel, and especially of those live streams from yesterday and today, I think we can all now be on the page that the person we knew as Anthony is now Emily, and we should address her as her. And just be done with it and enjoy her content whenever she's back. Yeah, Luke, you said it's about 3 to 4 months ago when she came out as trans. Yeah, I think that's about right. Then Jonathan Hurst, the writer and host of MAC Addressed, wasted, by the way. He's not fantastic, but I think he could be doing better work if he was given more to work with. Imagine him actually being able to do a proper iPhone review. Can you imagine that you have a guy who's like leading MAC address, and for some reason you don't even let him do the presenting stuff for like an iPad or an iPhone video? That's just crazy. Farmer G, of course, that's the first you heard of it. She actually didn't want to like advertise it in any way. She wanted to keep it private, except for the people who follow her personally on her own channel. And she said that Linus was like very supportive of her, so it seems to have been a mostly positive experience. Spifikaios, you're hoping she's doing all right. From what I heard, she is. Teenage Chai came out in a video on channel Emily right on 28th of May, so you guys know what to look out for. Silicon Magic, you just saw a video of when it was still Anthony, so you're calling it him, right? It's her. It's her. Jonathan, yeah, you mean Jonathan? I'm sorry, I didn't want to imply that you were trying to call Emily him. Let us leave that behind, right? I think we are all cool here. Let's focus back on doing injustice to the largest company on the planet, which is a far worse crime, right? But like, Jonathan is good. I'm not saying he's great, but he is good, and I think he actually serves well as a host. I don't know if he has some kind of background, either in acting or anything like that. But my problem is, like, if you are doing like an Apple-centric channel and you are putting it on the shoulders of one guy, it's very clear that you should be giving him the resources to actually make the channel stand out. It would basically be it wouldn't be like an Apple channel from the PC guy's perspective, but it would be like an Apple channel heavily impacted by the interaction with PCMR guys, right? Sort of like that, because he works with all those other people. I think that would be really fun to have, like, I think like Mr. Who's the Boss just did a video comparing Windows and Mac OS, and I think having a channel that is very much so interested in those kinds of comparison and might have a lot of expertise to draw from would have been really fun. It's not his fault that MAC address is shit. His presentation is decent. I think like when he actually writes, it's decent, but the problem is a lot of the videos feel like somewhat whimsy, right? Like they're playful and fun. I have no idea why they decided to go like basically with that direction, but it's on them. It's not on Jonathan. Dennis is hilarious. Not much has to be said here. He's a creative sponsor lead now, though, right? So yeah. it's okay, right? We now see him in sponsor leads, but he's way funnier than most people here. So yeah, Matthew, don't have much experience with them. Seen like Dan in like 2 videos. Infrastructure and technical specialist. Then we have a mechanical engineering designer, a social media designer, an editor camera operator, an editor camera operator, an editor camera operator, a developer analyst, an accountant. Like most people of here aren't even producing content. Yeah, I always find it silly that Linus hired him because he knew he couldn't be objective enough with Apple products. Linus, that is. Yeah. We all have to work, right? It's not his fault that basically like the machine that is Linus Media Group will not value very fair Apple content, but they did so from Emily, but maybe he just doesn't have the same power. Linus has been the face of LTT for so long that it's a steep curve for any of the new hosts to make an impact. Oh, by the way, I'm not rating them on being as impactful as Linus. I'm rating them on somewhat objective, but in my opinion, objective measures of when it comes to like being a good presenter. It's nothing like, oh, I don't expect them to surpass Linus at any point. Dan is actually great. See him in saw him in a Mac video the other day. Which Dan? Like, did we just scroll? Oh yeah, Dan. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I think I know. Yeah. He's good. Again, as I said, I don't have seen enough of him to actually evaluate him properly, but nothing against him, right? It's not a David situation. Okay, developer analyst, accountant, software architect, fit technician, software architect, product coordinator, editor camera operator, Maria Sanabria, Brandon, I think I saw Brandon in something, Tanner, I think I saw in something. I don't remember any of those people, which is fine, by the way. Especially like I don't need to see all writers, but it's interesting that the only guy who is like a host is Jonathan, right? Nobody else is like hired as a host. James is in a ton of videos. He is primarily head of writing. Riley is in a metric shit ton of videos. He is a writer. Why is none of those other guys a host? That's so weird. Oh yeah, we have more customer service. So yeah, logistics, talent and culture supervisor, account lead. Oh my god, imagine being the culture supervisor for the company. I think it's like for internal culture, and now having to deal with that Gamers Nexus shit. Ugh. Executive assistant, social media coordinator, writer, customer service, editor, machine learning and computer vision engineer. That's actually cool. Maybe we will see some cool stuff from Jesse with the lab once it's finally finished. Steve, affiliate and sales lead, customer service, video editor and camera operator. Oh my god. Like, they literally didn't hire anybody as like to be specifically on camera. They're all basically on camera by accident because they're also writers. Yeah, by the way, not saying that the people are annoying. I think that Linus actually has a good hand for hiring them. So we have more writers, product designers, editors and camera operators, procurement man. We have so many people that basically are designed to work on like their sponsors and their own LTT store shit, that it's amazing that they get any content out at all, given how very few people are actually designated as writers out of the 120 people. Like when we were talking about like them working with like 40 people on like 4 channels, apparently they work with 40 people on all those 9 channels, because all the other people are sponsor shit, product design shit, and then like internal basically human resources stuff. That's amazing. I think you can try to do your job as the culture person, but you're limited by the people higher up. Yeah, by the way, I'm not saying I am blaming her. I'm just saying that she now has to deal with some of the fallout. That's it's like I follow gaming news, like, and when you look at stuff like Blizzard, right, you know that it's basically like a fish that rots from the head down with Bobby Kotick. But imagine being like and then there were also a shit ton of harassers there, and some still are. But imagine you're like a decent guy, middle manager, who's like tangentially responsible for internal culture management, and you've been there for like 3 months, and then people come to you accusing you of like, oh yeah, your company is shit, there are harassers here, your CEO is shit, oh, and the products you're putting out are nowhere near the quality they used to be. Can you imagine being in that position? So I'm not blaming any of those like people besides like the upper 5 or something like that. It all comes down to cotton. Talent and culture coordinator, community coordinator, also very, very ungrateful job to have in situations like this. Logistics coordinator, product coordinator, then we have a writer, an electrical engineering designer, a production assistant, a developer, and a senior developer. Like, oh my god. Are they all? No, they are not all wearing Linus merch. He's wearing Linus merch. Okay. So yeah, that was a long tangent. Who are we? Our team. Yeah, okay. What do we say who we are? Oh my god, Linus working hard or hardly working, however you want to put it. Our flagship channel, LTT, has been giving an audience of over 15 million subscribers. Their daily yeah. Their obsession with having it all be daily, that's a problem. A technology fix for over 10 years. LTT has covered everything from computer processors to nuclear fusion reactors with zero qualification to do that, and will continue to focus on covering emerging and exciting technologies. And then we will shit talk them because we put the wrong graphics card into those great emerging and exciting technologies. And if we feel particularly shitty that day, then we might actually auction off that piece of emerging exciting technology without your permission. That's our motto here at Linus Tech Tips. We have tech news, unboxing, like education, that's Tech Quick, right? Highlights, LMG clips. We have activities at Channel Superfun. We have Apple. We have all of Apple, of course. MAC address. And we now have, of course, also game news. We have the WAN show. Wait, that's not all, is it? Tech news, unboxing. Yeah, okay, it's about, okay, yeah, with the WAN show, yeah, that's it. I need my daily dose, so I ordered 10 products of AliExpress. Yeah, remember when people were like ordering shit from Wish because they knew that it would be shit and they knew they would be able to create content about it. And that was basically the content for a ton of creators for a while. Yeah, like Linus still does that all the time, and he also does like those videos. Why is everybody buying this? And then you actually look at it, it's like it might be the number one, but it's like it's clearly the number one because it's dirt cheap. That's why people are buying something. It's like, yeah, sure, brilliant conclusion, Sherlock. Like, people buy what is cheap because that's what most people can afford, especially across the world. So yeah, 2020, yeah, I ordered something from Wish, and that's when we also had like all those memes, right? Like, we have this and that at home. It's like, and it was like a Wish product or something. Yeah, LTT did 4 videos with Wish in the title. I could have sworn it was more. The last writer is so low on the bottom is likely just writing the manuals for the merchandise. Oh, I love you guys. Yeah, like this is, by the way, this is why I'm doing this. I always wanted to have a chat. I watch like guys like Hassan on Twitch. Like, I don't watch him on Twitch, but I watch him later on. It's like, it's always so fun to have something to immediately react to with people who might have like a corresponding interest interests and shit like that. That's why I'm doing this. It's really, really fun to be interacting with you guys like this. Sorry, I'll just have to check if everything still works. Seems to. And yeah, we still seem to have all the subscribers that we had added, so that's awesome as well. So yeah, let us finish the Hardware Unboxed video so that we can get to the Gamers Nexus video, so that we might get to the LTT subreddit if we still feel like it after like 4 hours.
Those production related things.
It's really tough to get the experience that's required to produce day one reviews at the level they need to be produced at now on YouTube.
Yeah.
The standard's very high. You can't afford to make silly mistakes, let's say. Little ones, you know, people will forgive you to a degree, like you say, like getting a spec in a table wrong, or like the cache figure wrong, like that. They're last minute things that are often done by the editor, though it seemed like it was in the script as well, but that's forgivable. But getting, major things wrong, things that can really impact the conclusion of the product review, that's not good. This is sort of separate to this issue, what I'm about to say, but we often get people either on our Discord or in our comment section or on Twitter reaching out to us saying, you know, Linus's team or Linus himself stuffed this up again. They're the absolute worst.
Why are you making like the viewers sound like angry and uncharitable? It's very clearly warranted, and I think this is why, by the way, I'm not reacting like to their full podcast, because in my opinion they're way too charitable here to Linus, basically like indirectly shitting a little bit on people who are like, oh, why aren't you calling this out? It's not because those people aren't asking you to like denigrate LMG in its entirety. They're asking you to fix stuff that could potentially misinform a large amount of viewers and therefore hurt their ability to do informed decisions.
They're anti-consumer. They're just the worst thing ever is what they're trying to say.
Yeah, they can be. By the way, doing a ton of mistakes knowingly or supporting a production pipeline that you know will produce bad info. Guys, it's like if you're putting if you're creating a toy, right, and like some kind of like Chinese or like, okay, let's say Chinese sweatshop, right? Okay, so you do have bad production behind it, and then you might also inject some kind of cheap material into the production that you know will make it extra sharp and extra dangerous for kids. Am I wrong if I call you out on that? Of course not. Why is it wrong for me to call you anti-consumer? Of course not. Is it wrong for me to call you out on worker exploitation even beyond the bad shitty product that you put out? Yes, of course. So why is it bad for people to say Linus is not maybe anti-consumer, but like anti-viewer, by not caring about the information that the viewer actually gets and only caring about the view? He literally treats the customer not as a product, but as the sum of their input, which is a view, a subscription. He doesn't care about them as informed consumers at the other end of the economy. Because he is an ad guy. He makes ads for his own products. He makes ads for other people's products. He carries the water for big corporations. And to a degree, all of that can be okay. But yeah, I understand, look, the viewers are consumers, but not universally. I think there are still people who will watch a video just for the entertainment. But yeah, of course, it has a negative impact on them as consumers. So whether you call that anti-viewer or anti-consumer doesn't matter to me. It's still bad. Do you know what I mean? I'm not trying to hang on to words, because he clearly is like saying that, oh, those people are like overreacting by implying that he's anti-consumer, maybe because he disagrees with the wording, and I'm saying that the wording is completely irrelevant here.
tear them down and do all this and that, and obviously we've never done that.
In China, it's not a problem if you
live
create
when we're doing our
dangerous
Patreon live
toys.
streams, you know,
Well,
what-
to a degree, unfortunately, that's not racism, by the way. Like, China calls itself a communist country and it probably gives, like, the least shit about the well-being. Like, they're fine. By the way, like, a small, like, somewhat political point. Like, yes, Western companies are dog shit when they use, like, Africa and China to create companies there that, like, don't adhere to Western environmental and worker protection practices. But can we also acknowledge that it's shit that those countries like China deliberately keep their environmental and worker protection laws so low? In fact, they're so low that some of those Western companies are not even comfortable with that anymore. Some of Chinese companies are not comfortable with that anymore. Like, because they try to attract a lot of external investors, and those investors look at a company like Shine, right? A company that mistreats its workers, creates shite products, but they're cheap, right? So they can be actually shy. The value is still there. And on the other end, they actually steal design, and to some degree, I think they're like one of the biggest public users of AI, because it feels like most of their designs are like AI generated. This, like, with all due criticism to a lot of the shit that we do in the West, such a company would not be able to survive here. Everyone is influenced by the media they consume, whether consciously or subconsciously. Yes, that's fair, Luke. I think you have a good understanding of, like, media literacy. I am a little cynical in the understanding that I think that a lot of people will even get, like, wrong conclusions from even good media often. But of course, it's better if the media is still good. I obviously am not taking that away.
What do you guys
here.
think of Linus and LTT? Like, I think they're personally the worst ever because of reason.
Oh, come on. Like, yeah, so they worded it like, oh, they're the worst ever. That's because they're also the biggest ever. That just, if it comes from the proportional influence, this is why you could say Linus is the worst, because he is the biggest.
What do you guys think? And we've had plenty of opportunities to, rip or talk poorly of Linus.
Should have done more of
behind his
it.
back or even on the main channel. We haven't done that because I honestly believe, when we've been asked about this is what I've said in the past, and I think you agree, Tim, that I think Linus and LTT, or the organization in general, has been of net benefit for the PC industry and consumers. I think they've...
Okay, he's making a nuanced point that I think is not that wrong. He kind of feels about Linus like I feel about capitalism, which is, I agree that capitalism has been a net benefit for the world, especially in comparison to the feudal systems that it came out of. I believe that it's better than state capitalism, which is what many pseudo-socialist countries will call themselves, for taking the means of productions to themselves. However, I am also somebody who says that we should still be looking beyond the systems we currently have to better the people's lives, not only here, but also people in Africa, in exploited parts of Southeast Asia, a lot of Latin America, because the global South obviously is the most major producer of the shit we consume, but also of especially the natural resources that we need to extract to have the somewhat extravagant lifestyle that we are used to. That's a very nuanced point. However, it should also sometimes be able to say things more simply, which is, I think that our current systems needs a lot of work to be actually like fair and balanced, to put it in the words of Fox News, right? But with Linus, it's like, sure, he has been a net benefit, especially due to the enormously positive influence in his early days, because he was better than what came prior. But with his growth, he also had the responsibility to better practices across the employment pipeline, across the content creation pipeline, and that's what he didn't live up to. And we shouldn't focus just on his original very positive days, but because we live in the here and now, and LMG is only growing, they're only adding more people, they're only adding more content, they're only adding more sub things to do, like with the lab now. There is no potential for it to get better unless we intervene by saying that here are the problems that you currently have, and we believe that you are building your new house, right, on a shit foundation. Your foundation is not anymore the 10 years of content, because a lot of the new people have no connection to that time. You yourself are now less connected, so you now have a responsibility to create a foundation that takes you into the next 10 years in a responsible way, to your workers, to yourself and your sponsors, sure, but primarily to your viewers. And that balance seems to be right on the side where the sponsors are, not on the worker side, not on the consumer side, but straightforward, to have like 50 people working on sponsor relationships, the LTT merch store, creating co-branded screwdrivers and then selling them off as the biggest innovation that screwdrivers have ever seen. That's not the LMG we want to see.
I think the good they've done certainly outweighs any issues, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be criticized for those issues, because if they
kind of sounds a little bit like that
through their own sort of processes, then someone probably should point that out and help them along. But I think they've done a good thing for PC gaming and PC. I think because of Linus, there's a lot more people now who, they're almost like a gateway for GN. I think there's a lot more people now who research their parts and what they're buying. There's a lot less.
Yeah, it's a gateway to better content, sure, kind of like how marijuana is a gateway to harder drugs, at least according to conservatives. But like, yeah, saying something is a gateway to something else is neither positive nor negative. Sure, it can start somebody on a journey to being a Gamers Nexus fan, but it can also now create sycophants who clearly know of Gamers Nexus, who clearly watch some of their content, but will then attack them for criticizing their Lord and Savior Linus.
People who are sucked into the market.
Silicon Magic, I'm not influenced, although I feel a sudden urge to buy a blue sweater. Oh, yeah, but that's, by the way, that's like good branding for like, people associate him with the blue sweater, so he wears the blue sweater. Maybe I should try to look more like my memojis and my thumbnails. Maybe that could work.
I think, yeah, there are a lot more people now who are looking at other resources, doing research, building their own computer, learning about how computers work, and just getting more involved in the whole process than they would have if they hadn't have found Linus. And I think there's just a bigger audience on YouTube and in general for tech stuff. I think that, you know, a lot of us have Linus to thank for blowing up that hobbyist, enthusiast type industry and making it what it is today. I think he plays a big part in that, and I think that should be recognized. And again, it doesn't excuse any mistakes or anything that they've done wrong, but I personally think Linus is of net benefit, and I hope that they can tighten up and improve on these things, because that'll be great for them and everyone else.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's basically my thoughts on Linus and
yeah, I agree.
LTT.
Yeah, so that was a little bit of a cop-out. In their full video, they go a little bit into like their own testing methodology that helps them avoid mistakes. Check that out if you are interested. I personally don't think that that's super relevant for my channel here, and I do think that they definitely have a high quality control level that should be admired and should be looked into for people who are interested. But yeah, it's definitely more for like an Apple-centric channel who's doing a little bit of tech drama right now. That's not necessarily what we are all here to see. However, what we came all here to see is this. Tech Jesus is back. He is trying to recontextualize some of what Linus has said now. Linus hasn't responded like super publicly, but there are now some snippets throughout. We read some of them yesterday, so I think this is worth exploring. Farmer G, I agree with Gamers Nexus that edits in the video are not good enough. Yes, that's what I've also said. It's very clearly like a band-aid solution that it's designed to excuse laziness. As I often have a video running in the background while I do other things, same here. So what is being said needs to be as accurate as possible. It's not just by the way, I think it's fine if it's like in the video and the video has a lot of graphs, right? I think that's kind of the nuance here, because in a video with a lot of graphs, you have to look at it anyway. But if it's a video that it's primarily like a talking head one, then yeah, I do kind of want to know that the spoken word is kind of their bond here. But the thing that I hate most is like their corrections in like the comment section or through tweets. I think that is so bad and so antithetical to any kind of good journalistic practice, especially if they have like bad data that influences the core review and they still leave the overall review on, even though they say, oh, but you should ignore this part of the video. This is what specifically is egregious to me. Actually, watching videos without multitasking is a millennial boomer thing, I feel. Yeah, I'm 26 years old. Which gen am I, guys, by the way? I always forget that. Am I like Gen X? Right? Like, I'm not a millennial. Definitely, like, is that the thing after that? Am I a Gen Xer? No, wait, what? Or like, what comes first, Gen Z or Gen X? And then Gen Y, I assume, is in between. Like, I always thought that those new distinction names were so stupid that I didn't bother to learn them. I know that millennials are like 10 years older than I am at the very least, right? Or then substantially older than that. Early Gen Z I am. Okay, good. So after me then comes like Gen Y and Gen X, right? So like, for example, my 10-year-old niece, which gen would she be? Would she be like a Gen Xer now? Or like, yeah, I think so, wouldn't it? Like, this is such a tangential issue, but I'm just mildly interested in it and I will forget it later on anyway. Silicon Magic, you're absolutely right. Who cares? But I do have apparently a very light form of ADHD for some issues. Gen X is 1965 to 1980. Oh, okay, so Gen X came before. Okay, Gen Alpha. Okay, so I don't know shit squat about any of this. We are moving on to the Gamers Nexus video. Thank you, Luke Tip, for the details, and thank you, Silicon Magic, for pointing out that nobody should care.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hardware News Recap of the Week. We filmed the vast majority of this episode a couple
Should I make this a little louder?
Linus Media Group, well, specifically Linus himself, has posted a response to our video, and it's not well thought out. It's pretty disappointing, honestly.
Yeah,
so
it's bad.
We're going to insert a section and talk about that. Then we'll get into all the other news topics for the week. Before that, this video is brought to you by Arctic and the Liquid Freezer 2 liquid coolers, now including an ARGB model in the lineup. The Liquid Freezer series has been a top performer in our benchmark for years now, and Arctic has continually fine-tuned its products even post-launch with things like kits for Ryzen, ARGB fans for new flare, and new radiator sizes. The company also has its brand new MX6 thermal paste on the market now. Learn more at the links in the description below. So we posted some coverage yesterday with some concerns about data accuracy, ethics, and responsibilities of Linus Media Group. Not going to recap all of that here.
Good.
You should check that
Glad
video
the sound
out
is
before
good.
proceeding its necessary context. Linus hastily posted a statement about 3.5 hours after our video went live. The video raised concerns again about an incredibly large amount of testing inaccuracy.
Yeah, with a ton of corporate apology. I'm not gonna read that entire message. I think we've seen like parts of it basically represented in like his individual responses. But yeah, like this thing that he wrote and that he basically then also like shared in parts is complete garbage. It doesn't deserve to be read in full, but it deserves to be deconstructed, and I have already deconstructed parts of it yesterday, so I thought it was only fair to also give Steve, who was obviously much more involved here than I am, also a chance to do this, and then I would react to this. Not that he needs my platform, but you know what I mean.
Issues alongside what we believe to be unethical actions and just issues with responsibility as a large outlet in general. Linus's statement, it is an unhinged, unapologetic rant where he shirks responsibility and blames others. He tries to play weird semantic games like saying, quote, we didn't...
Yeah, this is where corporate apology comes into it. That word you're accused of us of, I'm so sorry, it's technically incorrect, so that makes your entire point invalid.
Sell the product.
That's also like a debate bro
or
tactic.
Misrepresent the timeline for when he contacted Billet Labs. He triples down on Billet Labs and says, quote, I still disagree that the Billet Labs video is an accuracy issue. It's more like, I just read the room wrong. That doesn't even make any sense. It's not the job of a reviewer to read the room and tell the room what it wants to hear. That is called a
sycophant.
A sycophant.
Yeah,
He also
it's a
said,
good joke.
quote, we could have retested.
We could have retested with perfect accuracy, but we're doing yeah, okay, wow. Wow, but that's literally not what he said. Like, he literally said the product would still be bad even if they tested it properly. Like, that's not what he said. Like, what do you mean? Okay, so you didn't thought that it would influence the conclusion of the video. But, like, it would have influenced the actual video, right? Even if you still called it shit at the end, people who might have watched half of the video could have seen the product working properly and gotten something out of it. I don't get this. What do you mean?
It with perfect accuracy, but to do so properly, accounting for which cases it could be installed in, none, and which radiators it would be plumbed with, again, a mystery, would have been impossible. And also didn't affect the conclusion of the video, or so I thought.
It's a prototype. The conclusion of the video should have been like, oh, but even though I think it's cool, I definitely believe it should be way smaller. So it can fit into more more cases and stuff. Your conclusion is not to say a prototype by itself is bad if it does its function well. You cannot know if it does its function well if you test it improperly, and you cannot be then super uncharitable to the actual product once you're called out on having done basically every step of the review wrong.
Be clear here, the random caps lock is not us. That's the original emphasis.
We could, yeah, okay, so that's just a message.
We could have retested it with perfect accuracy, but to do so would have been impossible, is nonsense. And it's very difficult to engage with nonsense. I don't know what that means. And it completely ignores the enormous video-breaking errors with cooler CPU and GPU testing results and processes that sometimes wildly misrepresent the product stack. Other than the usual platitudes of we wear our imperfection on our sleeves in the interest of ensuring that we stay accountable.
Corporate bullshit talk. Also stressing the price point for a prototype. Yeah, like, how does that even work? Were they told by the company that it would be $800? like, or like, was that like basically like an internal talk? Because prices for end consumer products have to consider so much more shit than people understand during a prototype phase. You basically have to be a well-oiled machine with the experience of like a 50-year company like Apple almost, and then you have to know that the one product will be insufficient, will be not so different from a prior one that you would be able to predict its mass production cost, its advertisement cost, and then also calculate the profit margin that would compensate for the research and development cost, and would also, especially for a small company, allow for you to make enough money to keep further investing into the company. How the fuck would they legitimately know how much the product costs long term, right? And even in like its current state, they could like cut half of it, right, and then price it for like $500 something. Now it fits it into more cases. Now it still drops temperature by 12 degrees instead of 20, and it's a much more affordable. Like, does it change everything? Of course it does, but this is why a prototype also should, like, for one, you should never review a prototype. You should never give buying conclusions for a prototype. They even said that this was like their best prototype, implying that they're very clearly in somewhat early stages. So this definitely isn't something that they have like told Linus to like, oh yeah, tell people to like buy our product that we don't even have yet fully figured out. Apple knows how to calculate profit margins. That much I know. Yes, it isn't just like, I know this sounds a little bit suck-uppery, but it's actually, if you read the history of Apple like I do, Tim Cook, who is the current CEO, he was the financial manager of Apple basically under Steve Jobs, and he's been with Apple for decades now. But he's like a wizard when it comes to understanding that shit. Like, you know how people who are like CEOs, like think of Elon Musk, who are like constantly overvaluing their own contributions and telling that other people's what geniuses they are. And you clearly know that like they definitely aren't constructing the rockets like they're implying, well, because they're spending 80% of their time on Twitter. Right, but Tim Cook was legitimately instrumental in making Apple financially successful at a time when it was actually very much in the stars if Apple would survive at all. So his contribution to the long-term success of the company and to the continued growth that it still experiences is monumental. This is, by the way, why I'm totally fine with not having like an innovator at the head of a company if that head of the company still is perfectly capable of hiring good people and giving them relatively free range. For example, there's a guy at Apple called John Turnus. He's somebody who I would like to be the next CEO, even though he probably won't be, but he would be like the next generation of more back to getting an engineer into the CEO role. So I definitely think there should be like a back and forth, but like we shouldn't take away from how much, even looking at Linus Media Group's Yvonne is very, very important for how the company came together financially. She gave Linus very important tips while there were still very few other people. And of course there's Colton, the ultimate representation of neoliberal capitalism, of unlimited growth, of forcing companies to expand at any cost. Fire Colton.
To you without explaining how it happened or how they'll fix it. Look, we're going to talk about this today, but we're not going to drag this out and make a whole new standalone video about this response because they haven't added anything of substance.
I wish they had, because now I would have more content to react to.
The response is immature, it's blaming others, and it's irresponsible to the community they've built. But we are going to talk about some of the issues in this statement nonetheless, and then we're moving on. Let's start with Billet. This is where the story is getting a little bit twisted. We saw...
Okay, Farmer G, you're saying it's 650 pounds as a pre-order. Okay, so they seem to be a little more confident in their product. Okay, still think that they shouldn't be doing that, though, by the way. If they're saying that like their prototypes are apparently still like so different that they have like one really good one and it could legitimately hurt them as a company to lose that, then you're clearly not close enough to mass production to announce a price. But maybe the price is actually like it could be that the price is somewhat generous for pre-orders, and then they would adjust it for subsequent purchases. Or maybe they will get lucky and it will become a somewhat realistic price. But you know how like startups will give you like cheap products if you invest, or maybe your investment is like the product itself, so that they can have like 1 million investors. That can work. So I'm not saying that that the 650 pounds or $800 will be unrealistic, but I am saying that it being a prototype and it being on pre-order, and them saying that losing the prototype could hurt their business long term, definitely show. Luke Tip, you're saying that was in June. June was not that long ago. When it comes to product design phases, it's still absolutely in the ballpark for what could be relevant to the long-term success. I'm talking very fast right now. I think the coke just hit my brain.
Comments about this confirming our concerns that people.
By the way, take a look at her. Oh no, I cannot.
First of all, we're not going to argue the semantics about an item being sold against the will of a company versus being auctioned and being for charity, which we already said doesn't make that better. It makes it worse.
She doesn't want to be on camera, guys.
In an innocent third party into a very awkward situation.
I will show it to her to you very quickly. Come here. Don't fight me. You know I'm nice. Oh my god, I lost her. Sorry, you won't see my cat.
That can potentially make them look bad by proxy. And secondly, this is actually what we said. The first time they agreed to send it back was June 30th. At LTX, Linus Media Group put the one-of-a-kind water block up for auction at its Extra Life auction event. More seriously, Linus's statement, which reads, quote, "We have already agreed to compensate Billet Labs for the cost of their prototype," uses specific...
I would love the cost that they have named. Like, I think that would say a lot about how important they think this actually is.
...language to imply that this was agreed upon prior to our video launching. Following this forum post from Linus, we reached out to Billet Labs, with whom we'd already had contact, and we asked them the following. We said Linus's comment doesn't expressly say it, but it seems to imply that this agreement was made previously.
I know, Arafat. I really wanted to show you the kitty. I've shown her in some other streams. I think she is shy because she got really scared during the storm that was happening while the video was in the beginning. So I think this is why she's a little shy to be carried around like she usually lets me do.
Absolutely not. No, no, no. The only mention of any money to do with the prototype was our response to them after they said they'd auctioned it. And we basically said, you know, that was an expensive prototype. They didn't want us to share the exact dollar amount. Billet continued...
Okay. I do agree. It's getting... good now, which is okay. So we do not get to see the exact amount of money. Do you plan to reimburse us for this? And we heard nothing. We didn't get a response until your video. wait. Billet. Oh my god. Billet Labs to Gamers Nexus. So this was. Oh my god. I totally goofed on this. I thought that this was an internal message that they like knew Billet Lab sent to LTT, maybe for a WAN show or something like that. Apparently, the only reason why it was cleared up was because of the Gamers Nexus. Wait, so it happened yesterday? No, what?
To explain their email, they said,
Am I Luke Tip, am I getting it right?
Quote,
Arafat, you have 5 cats. That's very brave of you. I have none in my own house where I live in Berlin, but I did buy Bella when she was small, but I couldn't keep her because, like, with my studies and stuff, I didn't have enough time. So my mom took her in, and she is, like, super happy here.
I said, do you plan to reimburse us for this? And we heard nothing. We didn't get a response until your video, and Billet thanked us for it. We asked Billet when...
Yes! Oh my god, Linus sent the email to them like 40 minutes before his public... Oh my god, that's so shitty. Now I understand why like they're saying that he's like misrepresenting the timeline, because I wouldn't have gotten that timeline from like Linus's response whatsoever. It sounded to me like maybe like with a WAN show that like they put some attention on it again. That's insane. The fact that it basically now happened between like an hour after my stream and oh my god, that's crazy.
That email from Linus, and they noted it arrived about 2 to 3 hours after we published our video, which would have been around the same time that Linus posted the comments on the forum.
She just bit
So
me.
he
She
wrote that
definitely
email
isn't in the
and
mood.
he posted, and then said they've already come to an agreement. But at the time he posted it, Billet hadn't responded to the email. And just for the record, we have the timeline of events, so I vetted them.
Yeah, so Luke Tip, yeah, he made it seem like it was handled before the Gamers Nexus video was posted. That's absolutely the impression that I got. That's crazy to consider this. Wow. So this is, by the way, when any sycophants are defending Linus, you should show him this, not even like the full original Gamers Nexus video, but like this where they're clearly showing just how much shit Linus does to save his own ass publicly, because Linus knows that the power he has as the leader of LMG, as the guy who like controls like their forum and shit, he knows that his message has a good chance of winning if others don't fight against it harsh enough.
And
yeah,
Linus
it's disingenuous and gaslighty,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Back on June 30th, and they agreed again later, and then they followed up to tell Billet that they would have a tracking number soon, and then it was last seen at the auction at LTX. So today was the first time that Billet had direct contact with Linus. A comment from Linus lower in the forum reads this, quote, "Billet sent us a quote. I don't know or care how they arrived at the value. If they're good, I'm good."
Yeah, I reacted to that message yesterday. Okay, now I understand. So basically the Gamers Nexus video was posted, and my video happened like 3 hours later, or 4 hours or so, and Linus about an hour after the video basically was internally like figuring out the stuff with Billet Labs. But then when I was reading it on the forum, everything he said made it seem like this was a long gone issue that he basically already cleared up, completely forgetting to mention that this was basically like he probably didn't even send the money by that point, right? He probably like was just preparing some kind of financial invoice for them. That's crazy.
We asked them about this, and Billet emphasized to us that it had not sent Linus Media Group a quote. It noted that it had expressed a possible value of the block in frustration.
Yes, Silicon Magic, you're also bringing up a good point. It's basically all about the attention span of people, and this is why it's important that Linus's audience does tend to be a little younger, because there the attention span is definitely even shorter. It's like Linus basically knows that this will be over in 48 hours, so he is trying to create as much diversion and as much like good guy impressions during those 48 hours, so the criticism doesn't get too harsh and doesn't get prolonged. And to him it seems to be okay to gaslight us during those 48 hours in the hope that maybe at some point he will come clear, maybe once it doesn't matter anymore, then he will tell us to trust them, bro. Yeah, so Arafat, you're saying he hasn't paid them yet. Maybe like the check is now in the mail or something like that, right? But that's so fucked up. That's so fucked up.
Before our video went up, before this
yeah, I don't know when Billet Labs send them basically like an asking price, but I think they now have like it. But it seems to be like, my impression is kind of a fucked one, right? That they have sent them an email probably with a somewhat accurate asking price with for the loss of the prototype, and then Linus basically ghosted them until the Gamers Nexus video, and because he was scared, he basically agreed to the price without any negotiation.
Conversation began after they learned that it had been auctioned previously, but that this wasn't any kind of
Do you plan to reimburse us for this?
quote.
Yeah, that. Oh my god, imagine having to write that. Like, that should be him. Like, I wouldn't have even said that. Do you, like, okay, that sounds sassy. Do you plan to reimburse us for this? I would have gone like nuclear and would have just written the fucking money price. Money price in the name of a lawyer or something, because I know Linus will be like, oh, but we also have lawyers. Like, they live in Canada. Like, yes, money rules there too, but if you are that objectively in the wrong as Linus is here, I promise you that any decent lawyer could win against them on behalf of Billet Labs.
Or invoice. We asked Billet if it had anything further to share, and it said, he's emailed us. We haven't emailed back yet at the time of writing. We thank the community for the support. We stand by everything we've said publicly.
Yeah, those guys seem to be very, like, also like, kudos to just how fucking calm they are for being, like, ghosted by Linus and not being automatically reimbursed. You should have been, like, kissing their feet for that fuck up. Jesus.
Billet noted that they intend to email Linus back prior to sharing any further details, and they also spent a few minutes to express very sincere gratitude to the community, and as they don't have quite as much of a platform, I'm just conveying that to you. They were extremely grateful to the support that they've received from you all, and I do think that they felt some closure on their side. Now we get into something important. As far as Linus's belief that we should have reached out to him first, and that not doing so somehow makes the 44 minutes of reporting any less valid, and considering the fact that he's...
I don't think it's bad to reach out beforehand. I think it can be overstated how good it is. I think with journalism, it's genuinely relevant to do that, at least by the standards of most editors. Like, for all the shit coming up about Donald Trump, for example, you know that he got like that article 2 days ago, right? And that's why he reacts about it on Truth Social, not because he's a genius, but because he's getting like letters from journalists and even like pre-indictment letters as well, which is also typical for like the indictment process. I should put my face again up there. Nope. Up here. But like Steve was definitely not like in a must position to share that right away. I think sharing that would have created a potential problem where Linus would have dragged it out. He would have basically filibustered it and said like, oh, give me the chance to respond to this and this, or let us do that through a WAN show, right? And out of courtesy, somebody might have given in and then not basically responded properly. I think that's fucked. I think it's totally okay for them to post it without giving Linus prior knowledge. Maybe like 2 hours prior would have been nice, or something like that. Maybe they could have unlisted the video, sent Linus a link, and then like by the time Linus should have watched the video, they could have made it open to everybody. Luke Tip, how many people read the forums? Yeah, I think even like the age group is not that important here, guys, because sycophants exist in all age groups. But I think it's I think kids will be particularly like in the camp of like defending Linus, because they don't fully understand just how hurtful it will be for somebody to build a small business, to invest time and money into that, and to then get fucked for at no fault of your own. So I think that obviously adults will have some better understanding of this. But again, sycophants exist in any age group, in any fan group, so it's not the primary concern here.
Said there would have been valuable context, such as, quote, the fact that while we haven't sent payment yet, we've already agreed to compensate Billet Labs for the cost of their prototype, which, again, Linus emailed Billet after the video.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I totally goofed on that. I totally thought that that was like for some WAN video or something. The fact that it happened yesterday is honestly screwing with my head. The fact that Linus now is saying that he refuses to cover this on WAN show, even though it's not even like old news, it's like literally news from this week, because only now he is like getting the payment to them. That is fucked as hell.
This Billet situation is exactly why. This sentence structure makes it appear as if Billet already agreed to some kind of resolution before the video.
Yes, exactly. That's how I got that when I read that big thing.
That's why it's our responsibility when doing proper reporting to ensure that the truth gets to viewers and that it's not misrepresented by a manufacturer. We don't have to reach out to corporations when we think there's a patterned behavior or that there may be a significant chance that they try to cover things up or prepare a pre-written response that could twist the narrative and, in this case, manipulate the audience. Linus willfully ignoring our valid criticisms of data accuracy and some of the ethical concerns, while then trying to manipulate the audience into viewing him as the victim, not just LMG. This was very, is bizarre. This is why we don't reach out every time. I want to be very clear. We don't have to reach out to corporations.
Yes.
Prior to reporting.
Yes, this is exactly the point. And Silicon Magic, you have said that that's just the business world, what's happening here. But Linus also now has to be prepared. Linus wants to have it both ways. This is a little bit of a rant that I want to have here. Linus wants to be treated like that plucky, skinny, picking himself up by his own bootstraps guy who quit college, went into like an NZXT, or I always forget what it's called, right? Working himself up through like being a representative for them, doing videos, eventually doing like his own stuff, and he wants to be treated like an individual for this, which sure, we treat him like an individual when we interact with him. But when we do have generalized criticisms of LMG, the overall channels that he runs or used to run, then we treat it as a corporation. NCIX, okay, thank you. Oh my god, I love Hive Brain chat. This is what I want. People who can correct me, who can extra info, who can add extra info, who can Google stuff while I am not obviously while I'm preoccupied with something else. That's awesome. That's really awesome. Giving you a thumbs up, and the thumbs up came up. Good, great. Yeah. Linus was like jerking himself off to how much he's helping small businesses. And that's what he wants to be remembered for, right? Building his own business, helping other businesses, completely ignoring that his business is now like 100 million worth and stuff like that, that it should be beholden to higher practices than when he was a small channel, that it definitely shouldn't have worse standards than while the channels were much smaller. So yeah, that's fucked, and that's complete gaslighting to say like, oh, but treat me nicely like as an individual. Sorry. Nope, sorry, you're the representative of a giant corporation. That's not the same. It boggles my mind how calm Billet Labs stayed. Yeah, kudos to them. Unnecessarily calm, almost. They could have brought this all up much earlier. Thin Chai, the man does not take well to criticism as usual. It has gotten worse. We have to really acknowledge that, Thin Chai. I remember like 5 years ago when stuff was coming up. Like, this was a part of why I stopped watching like as much LTT content, LMG content as I used to. But like Linus is now way worse than he used to be.
Period. For big corporations, we don't reach out if the issue already harms consumers or if their view is irrelevant. The Walmart PC, the Alienware PC, any number of products we buy, but we don't need to reach out because the damage is being done actively. And we don't need Linus's input or permission to make that video. LMG's videos are already affecting millions of consumers, and they have objective errors that we covered objectively, and they involved serious ethical concerns, which we raised. And rather than addressing those, he's choosing to try and distract viewers by whining about us, not allowing him to comment first.
Glad that
And
he's
they've
calling
already
it out
commented
that
anyway.
way.
They did it in all of these various WAN shows. We know what their comment is. We know what they think. And when there's an objective, factual issue, we don't need to reach out.
By the way, sorry guys that I'm scratching my face a lot. There was a second reason for me giving up Bella to my mom, which is about a year after having her, I started developing some mild allergy symptoms that wouldn't really go away under allergy medication, because this allergy is very, very specific to her hair. Whenever I interact with like her hair getting on my face and stuff, I start feeling itchy. It's not bad. It's something that I definitely can live with for a month while visiting my mom. But I'm usually much better behaved and not scratching my face like this. But when I was trying to get her to show you like Simba from The Lion King, like I got a lot of hair in my hand when she bit me for it.
Risk is to the consumer. And these aren't unreleased products. They are public videos with a lot of views. And I am exceptionally disappointed in this response. I am baffled.
Yeah.
This was the path chosen. I don't know. I don't know how to respond to this circular.
This response like kills Linus as a potential ally for so many creators, because now if you're somebody who is calling out Linus in such a fair and balanced way, right? And you're still getting this kind of response. Now you know that if Gamers Nexus comes into a shitty situation with like Nvidia or AMD or any other sponsor from Linus Tech Tips, you know that now he won't be on their side.
Deflecting nonsense. As for the rest of the sort of meandering diatribe, it's just bizarre.
Yeah, it's the stuff that I was parodying earlier. I'm sorry I got the community's priorities mixed up on this one, and that we don't show the billet. We didn't show Billet in the best light. Our intention wasn't to hurt anyone. We wanted no one to buy it. Because an egregious waste of money, no matter what temps it runs at, and we wanted Billet to make something marketable so they can, eat. What? Did I miss this? Guys? Am I going crazy? Like, did he once again shit on Billet Labs for a product he didn't even test properly? Like, this is the guy who does, like, water-cooled everything. Like, what is the point of criticizing Billet Labs for a product that is still a prototype? Like, is he taking that personally to the pricing that they gave, that the pre-order has? Like, come on, like, people waste egregious, like, $800, let me be really shitty here. People buy the $700 Mac Pro wheels. I think they are worse, but people still buy them. I'm not supporting it. I have said always that that is a shit move. That basically a lot that Apple does with the Mac Pro is a shit move, but the wheels especially, and the stand of the Pro Display XDR. But like, yeah, so, like, clearly people still buy it to a degree, even if it's more for like marketing purposes to have that. Like, why the fuck would he still pile on Billet Labs? Farmer G, just double check GN video, and the graphic of the message exchange between LTT and Billet shows that LTT also got, yeah, we covered that. They had a 3090 Ti Billet, and then they used their own 4090, and then he said that it would basically cost him $500 of manpower to retest and $800 for the 3090 Ti or 3090 whatever. Why? They were sent one. Why would it have cost them that much? Wait, $1,000 stand is a steal. Guys, do any of you remember the Snazzy Labs video, which I think is one of the funniest Apple criticism videos that I have ever seen, and I recommend it to anybody, whether you love Apple or hate Apple. It's... Oh, I'm so sorry, I hit the table. It's his video on the Pro Display XDR stand where he's like comparing its value to literally like gluing together 10 $100 bills and using them as a stand. Just imagine how much it would cost if I had hired somebody who holds it for me the whole time. Yes, imagine I have to have a full-time employee. This is one of the funniest things I think ever created, because everything else is like, you know, like the meme of like a man who wearing a shirt and he got like the same shirt as a present, and people are like, oh, here it goes, the same iPhone over and over again. It's like this joke is like 12 years old or something and wasn't that funny to begin with, but like it's original stuff like that where you can shit on Apple as much as possible, where I will laugh my ass off because I know of Apple's mistakes better than anybody else because I cover them so much. I am not excusing shitty behavior from them and shitty business practices and shitty pricing, so when somebody does it like that, this is why it's funny to me, so I highly recommend it. Maybe someday I should react to this. It's like one of my favorite pieces of Apple commentary. There was like a channel, it's something with drunk. It's like Drunk Gentleman or something like that. I'll quickly look it up. It's like... it's not drunken reviews or anything. It's like... Drunk Gentleman or something like that? No. iPhone. Phone. Review. iPhone 4. No. Do any of you know what I'm talking about? Like this channel with like a white background where they were making fun of the new iPhone announcements, and it's way better than any of the same content that was clearly stolen that we have nowadays, you know, with like the dude in like the Steve Jobs like shirt and shit. He is so terrible, but he gets like millions views, but like the original was so funny. Is it Drunk iPhone 4 or something? No. Oh, here it is. It's JLE. And it's called the band blah blah blah. For example, like the band white iPhone 4 promo. That is something I can also recommend, and it's 12 years old. So yeah, that was when Apple jokes were good, and sometimes good stuff comes up from like guys like Snazzy Labs. But overall, I do believe that most like, oh, isn't Apple so uninnovative anymore commentary is complete and utter shit nowadays. So getting back to that.
I really am. I am genuinely just disappointed by this. Here's one such quote. I'm sorry I got the community's priorities mixed up on this one, and that we didn't show the billet in the best light. Our intention wasn't to hurt anyone. We wanted no one to buy it because it's an egregious waste of money, no matter what temps it runs at. Another quote. Will the "it was a mistake, a bad one, but a mistake, and they're taking care of it" reality manage to have the same reach? This is a very bitter way to admit a mistake, but my answer to that question, because it had a question mark at the end of it, is not if you are insincere and indignant about it.
Oh wow, that's harsh, but so fair, so based. Oh, thank you, Tech Jesus.
He then talked about being real people and said...
Yes, of course, we are real people. We are a real people and a sweatshop that produces our stuff. And we are real people and 50 multi-billion-dollar corporations who are our regular sponsors, including being direct sponsors of our home tech equipment. We are also just people, but also multi-billion-dollar multinational corporations that sponsor our for every video. We are also people, but we are also Skillshare. Have I talked about Skillshare today, guys? Oh my god, this shit about like being real people is so old. I don't think that people have bought such excuses since like the 70s.
Today sucks. Look, guys, I'm not gonna
Today sucks. I will go to sleep. I will go to bed tonight sad. Do you see what you did now?
word.
The man has to eat, right? Like, please, please only throw the first stone if you haven't cooperated with HP, Dell, Corsair, Intel, AMD, Nvidia, and Sony, and a ton of other companies. Please only throw the first stone if you haven't taken money from every sponsor company that has ever sponsored anything on YouTube. Like, oh my god, the man has to eat. Of course, yeah. Like what? Like, is he like Bart from The Simpsons and he only eats like the eyes of lobsters? Is that why his money consumption has to be so extreme? Like, I remember the dude did like 3 videos changing up the TV in his living room, and clearly doing those videos so that he gets the money to do that. And in fact, it ended up often with them using like sponsored shit. Like, not only like there is like, of course, the direct stuff of like getting $5,000 from Intel and AMD, but like he clearly uses like sponsorships. Like, I understand if like $100,000 channel does that, but Linus, yeah, like from his dinner table made out of pure gold. Have any of you seen like the giant table that Putin has? Like that's like I have no idea, like 30 feet long or something. You can basically not hear or see the person on the other end. Imagine this, but out of pure gold, and all of it has like stickers from companies. Like half of it, like 1/5 of it is like sponsored by Intel. The other 1/5 is like AMD, Nvidia, right? So yeah, the man has to eat.
To protect my reputation amongst sort of the devout LTT supporters.
Among the Jesuses, yes.
That's gaslighting.
That's gaslight. Yeah,
That's what it is. Like,
it's sad, but we laugh a lot. But it's honestly sad.
That's what that is. So.
But I do laugh a lot.
Behavior. It is embarrassing.
No, I'm not comparing Linus to Putin. I hate Putin so much. I interact with Ukrainian refugees all the time. I'm comparing Linus's expenses to Putin's table. That is not the same. That is not how comparisons work. Don't put words in my mouth. Silicon Magic. No, I would never. I'm not the guy from yesterday who was trying to accuse Linus of like some kind of like a guy who is talking about like Iranian missile defense systems as a pseudo expert by lying to people. Like, no, I actually think Linus is politically probably all right. Not alt-right, he's probably all right in his views. Definitely not Putin, but yeah, maybe he has a table like Putin. Like, God, if I had the space, maybe I would have a table like Putin just for the fun of it. It would probably be out of cardboard so I could demolish it right away. But I would still have it for like a day and invite like a girlfriend there. And it's like, oh, do you want to have a romantic date? I sit here, you sit there. And we have to scream at each other so we can hear each other. That would be funny.
There's one more. Adam and I were talking about this today. He advocated for retesting it, regardless of how non-viable it was as a product at the time. And I think he expressed really well today why it mattered. It was like making a video about a supercar.
Yeah, so Linus wasn't listening to his employee. And it's clearly a pattern. And instead of saying that like, oh, I should be more often listening to my employees, he's trying to word this, I was wrong once. This is also a problem. There is no recognition of patterns on Linus's side. It's very clearly just designed to obfuscate the thing that happened as like a one-time thing, even though it's clearly representing more. He is trying to say that like the kind of mistake that they made here would obviously not be repeated often, but what Steve from Gamers Nexus is saying, that the mistake that they made here is emblematic of an overall culture in the company that allows mistakes to happen in the content, in their business practices, so on and so forth. It's not just about one mistake.
It doesn't matter if no one watching will buy it. They just want to see it rip. I missed that, but it wasn't because I didn't care about the consumer. It was because I was so focused on how this product impacted a potential buyer. Bullshit.
Bullshit, of course. You know what this sounds like? It sounds like the classical excuse of when you have like an interview for a job and they ask you like, what are your biggest failures? A question that is absolutely worthless, but regardless they ask that, and you say like, oh, I care too much. That is basically Linus's takeaway from this, that he was so pro-consumer that he didn't care that the video was fucked. He didn't care that his interaction with his employee was fucked. He didn't care that their business practices on the end of auctioning off a product that didn't belong to them was screwed up. The only thing that matters is that Linus cared for us as consumers so much that he wanted to shit on the product regardless of all other context, and that no other mistake matters because he was caring for us guys. He was doing this and he was actually getting the hearts out. Like, yeah, he cares. It's like from Star Wars. It's like when Luke says I care, it's like yeah sure, Linus.
We know why they didn't do it.
I don't know, guys. I'm not sure if I can apologize for not spending another 100, 200.
Okay, I'm doing this. I'm leaving the Canada hat on. It looks good. Okay. I don't know, guys. I'm sorry, but I don't know what I should apologize for. I have no idea what this accent is. Like, I try to do my best. I shit on the product because it deserved to be shit on. And then I didn't want to spend more money on a 3090 Ti that we already had. I didn't want to spend more money on my employee who clearly wasn't happy with the work that we have done. I'm sorry, guys. Like, what else should I have done? I mean, oh, I understand. I'm doing Jordan Peterson. Because I've been shitting on Canadians, I've been shitting on Linus, I've been shitting on XQC, so I've been subconsciously doing a Jordan Peterson kind of talking, which is completely unfair, because obviously Linus is better than Jordan Peterson. That's what I was doing. Now I know, I will continue doing it. So, and then of course, the auctioning happened. What should I have done? Like, I mean, I didn't sell it. Auctioning is different than selling. Look up the words. They are not the same. I didn't take the money, but I will be giving them the money. I haven't. Did I? Wait. I will be giving the money in the future once there's an expose launched on us that says how shitty I was to them, and only then. And then I will pretend in the future that I have said it now. So I will be taking now a break from speaking, so I can later insert that speech into what I'm saying right now. Is that a Russian accent? I have no idea what accent I'm doing. I have no idea why this is how I chose to voice Linus. By the way, if anybody is interested, I myself am from a country called Moldova. My original language actually is Russian, then my second language is German, and then my third language is English. which I'm obviously communicating with you in. I am not very good at doing the Canadian accent except for sorry. So, and for some reason I tried to replicate Jordan Peterson pattern of speech, and that became somehow a Russian accent. And no, I did have an intimate moment where, yeah, I did. Oh my god, we should be using this as like a template for like Linus apologia for the years to come. I did not have sex with that woman. Like, those cum stains came because she got dripped on by one of our water blocks, and actually it was water from the LTT water bottle that you can see here at the other end of the table, lttstore.com. Oh god, I'm so sorry. I know this is so cringe, but I honestly feel a little sad about this. So I'm kind of masking this a little with that kind of laughter, but it's kind of shit that this is happening with like the best, like the biggest tech channel for like all kinds of technology. Like MKBHD does not make enough videos. I think it's actually the water bottle is $29.99 or $19.99. So definitely not $9.99. But like, it's kind of sad that we have to talk about Linus this way, because he definitely was producing a lot of net positive for us as a tech community, and I kind of don't like that this is happening. It was food coloring slime. It's not real, guys. Am I the only one? I know it's funny, but like, don't we all feel a little sad that this is happening to a guy that I genuinely thought would be able to keep up some kind of like quality control? Because like, don't get me wrong, I have long switched to other channels for like my PC coverage that I want to get, but like the fact that so many people are still primarily watching him, mostly him, and sometimes only him. I'm not saying it's as bad as only watching Fox News, right? But it's clearly one of the worst options right now, I would say, because of those mistakes, because Linus himself is not clearly the guy he used to be, and I wish that we could take him and like bend him into shape again. I lost control.
$300, $500 of various people's time.
So I'll wrap this up by saying, look, we had data points in there that were completely ignored. They weren't mentioned at all in any of this. We talked about serious testing issues. We talked about methodological issues. We talked about lack of process. We talked about lack of QC. We talked about the fact that people can look at numbers that are 300% off in some cases, or in the cases of coolers, are just literally incorrect because it was backwards or installed improperly, and how they can get past people. None of that was addressed.
Okay, Gamers Nexus now like bringing back up good points, but I think we've gone through most of them yesterday. Spiffy Kaios, you're saying you don't see them bouncing back for a while, but you did used to like him. I don't think any amount of money can repay for the damage that was done to that company. I think there is an amount of money, but it's probably egregiously high, and I don't think that they did ask for it. I think if that was their attitude, they would have like been more vocal before that. They clearly are happy to get some breadcrumbs basically that are on the table, but yeah, it's definitely not fair. Silicon Magic, honestly, I don't think it's too bad. I mean, something along this line had to happen at some point. It could, oh yeah, of course it could have been worse, like, oh, and of course it could get worse, but I think that Gamers Nexus actually pointed this out in a phase where it can still be fixed by stopping any kind of growth from now, killing that Game Link channel that they're still trying to also add, not trying to get people into any of the super fun bullshit anymore, maybe reducing the amount of short circuit videos so that each video could have more time, and then they could still keep like basically basically their daily upload schedule for LTT. Hell, maybe in some case they should hire more people that are specifically hired for being on camera, that could legitimately reduce the amount of work their writers have to do. But like, of course, now I'm asking for more expansion, but I definitely think that that kind of expansion is more worth it than trying to get like even more like product designers for LTT store, and then having people in human resources who now have to oversee double and triple the amount of people. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it could definitely be completely detrimental to the company if this was like somebody who was like really interested in the intellectual property there. We cannot obviously prove that, so for now I'm not inclined to believe that the worst thing has happened, but the fact that under Linus the worst could have happened is kind of bad, right? Because usually you do have some fail-safes to prevent at least the worst outcome. You never can prevent everything, but there are some things that you definitely should be in control of. Silicon Magic, well, I believe the company has gotten so much attention by now, they'll make lots of money, hopefully. Though I would say sometimes all publicity is good publicity. Like, how many people will legitimately spend $800 out of pity for what had happened? And how many ballers are there actually who are like really ethical and want to throw their money at a small company who in their eyes deserve it, right? It's not always the baller attitude. Farmer G, I think a lot of the viewers that will take this seriously are already checked out of LTT as a reputable source anyway. Yes, but there is a chance that some people like me who still occasionally watched LTT will probably stop watching LTT or LMG channels altogether. Luke Tip, there was a post from a writer employee of LMG or a subreddit describing how each writer has to completely produce a video a week, so no surprises. Yes, this is why I'm saying, this is why only one guy, we went, I don't know if all of you were there for it, but we went through like their employee list, and literally only one guy is like called writer and host. All the other guys are just writers who happen to be hosts because of the internal demands of LTT. Who would spend so much money anyways on such a device? Well, now you're basically agreeing with Linus's point, and that's kind of why a prototype is not designed to be the end or be all, even if like their first generation product is like this. If the company is like seen well by the community because they get good coverage, they have the opportunity to then launch a second generation that maybe is like $300 and much smaller, fits in more cases, but still does its job relatively well. This is what happens to a lot of companies. Not every first product is a smash success, but Linus almost prevented them from having even that first chance, much less a second one.
It was a layup to say, here's our 10-point plan. Yeah, we f***ed up. Here's what we're going to do to fix it. There's an odd note in the statement about using their notes against them, like as if we're weaponizing their transparency or something. And I want to be clear again, like the vast majority of the significant errors I found, they're not pinned under their videos.
Yes, of course, yeah. And of course, like the like even what stuff is in the videos like corrected, like you should have re-recorded shit. That's the point. Jace2Cs will be ordering, yeah, of course, yeah, that, but Jace2C tries out even the worst crappy coolers, so in this case he might actually be mildly surprised to get something that truly works from a no-name company otherwise. LTT will survive, people will still watch for entertainment, yeah, of course. I'm not saying that this will, sometimes companies are legitimately too big to die in a short term. I think sometimes they will have systemic issues that will kill them long term because the internal structure breaks up, but yeah, I don't think that this in particular will do that. Also, not having an overarching producer for each channel is Yeah, this is insane. This is why I'm saying, for some reason, MAC address seems to be the most organized one, and then a TechQuickie has a producer just for it, or TechLinked, I don't remember, and no other channel did have a producer or manager specifically for it. That's so crazy. Sure, even my attention span is only 5 minutes, and I don't even use TikTok. Hey, don't sell your shorts. Don't sell yourself short, Silicon Magic. You clearly can listen for 3 hours. How much you do after 3 days, that is obviously up to you.
I found them. I went and I looked at the numbers, and I compared their own numbers against their own numbers, and I found those errors. Right, like it's misrepresenting reality here, and it is choosing to ignore it. So here's the deal. If LTT releases a...
I choose to ignore your reality and substitute my own. That's basically what Linus is doing here. Yeah, only Short Circuit was the one with
new
the
PR-inspired comment after this, or goes on another rant, we probably won't be responding.
No.
This was LMG's chance to take responsibility. And he's shown LMG's true colors and what he as the owner really thinks. And we're greatly disappointed at the tripling down rather than proposing future-looking solutions. At this point, we wouldn't believe them if they released a new statement to try and undo this one, because it's clear to us what the company's owners thought of these issues. And I can't get over this quote.
Yeah, this is why some people in the chat yesterday were like saying, oh, Steve looks like he likes drama. Maybe. That doesn't look like it at all. Either he's a really good actor. He looks like a little pained from this, because he clearly saw Linus as an ally, not like personally for like his channel, but like for the overall cause of somewhat decent tech journalism. Clearly Linus was not doing the shit that Gamers Nexus was doing, like also like them covering like EVGA and their relationship with Nvidia. So clearly Gamers Nexus has been adhering to higher standards and higher goals than LTT for a while, with LTT's only goal being growth at any cost. And I think it legit pained him to find out that so much of that growth, which obviously he still understands the need for growth, but like that so much of it has come at the detriment of quality, because clearly Steve cares about quality and he clearly would not want that to happen to his channel. Silicon Magic, I believe that's how they shoot their shows. I think they have a director that's just doing several videos for 3 to 4 channels. Yeah, I've seen that. You can actually see that in some behind the scenes where it's like a green screen and basically like people move in and out of it because one guy is like finished and then the next one has to go. It's like a freaking beauty pageant. It looks so dehumanizing for a company that sells itself on being so funny and we all interact so well with each other. Yeah, that's absolutely not how I imagined it would look. Yeah, it's really fucked. You can look at the behind the scenes. Farmer G, LTT Labs could have a sticky time if they don't improve their... LTT Labs is also like the Schrodinger's cat of content creation, where Linus will say like one thing about it and then another in another video, and they are both simultaneously completely true and also completely false, which he will sometimes say like, oh yeah, this part is like finished, but the overall lab is a mess, so we cannot use it. And then it's like, oh, we have those and those people here, but then and they're doing amazing work, and then reality will actually disagree with Linus, because clearly even people who are supposedly expertise in their field are making terrible mistakes, even on a level that is supposed to be so easy for them because they are talking to regular people.
We auctioned it. Seriously? Like that?
You're just so pissed.
We're gonna open with. Got us. Whatever. We're gonna go back to the rest
Gotcha.
of the news. I'm gonna drop this in. That's your update. Up next, some pretty big news. We've been talking about, of course, TSMC has been expanding like crazy. It's based in Taiwan, hence Taiwan Semiconductor, but it's also opening up new fabs in the West. Like,
it's a different show.
Installed improperly.
Okay, so we are done with this part of the video. I don't think that it's of any interest to cover the rest of the stuff here. Going basically to myself here. Yeah, I don't know how long I can continue. I've done like a 4-hour stream yesterday. This is now a 3-hour stream today. Guys, do you have any suggestions, interests, any questions that you would like to have answered? A lot of you have joined the channel, so I assume that you do have some interest in my content, hopefully beyond just the Dramarama stuff. Yeah, Arafat, it's over. It's so Jover, dude, yeah. But like, I still would like to interact with you a little if you want to, or if you think that there's something that I have really missed, please just let me know. Because as you see, I'm very happy interacting a lot with chat. Once again, sorry for scratching myself and for sweating. It's 32 degrees and there just was a terrible storm, and I just had a handful of Bella's hair in my mouth. So I will be more civilized in future videos, I promise that. Look at the Billet Labs statement, should be like 10 minutes at most. Let me go here. Nope. Oh, guys, I can show somebody to you if you want to. Now that's my Bella. Yeah. I'm sorry. And this is the hair. So I'm not lying. Oh my god, I'm already covered fully in hair from one interaction. That's crazy. She's 1/4 Maine Coon. That's why she has like super long hair. Do you think he will walk back on the WAN show? I think he will partially apologize when he sees how big the backlash is, but I think he will stick mostly with his own narrative. So going to macOS. Yeah, I think that's about right. So Billet Labs LTT. Yeah, Arafat, you really wanted to see Bella, so I was glad I could show her to you. So now it should be working good. So we are Billet Labs. Maybe you've heard of us. Thank you sincerely for everyone's supports. If you fancy supporting us, we do have some more affordable products available on our website. Please consider them for any future build. What's happened recently is a blip. We will not be stopped. Okay, so they do have some kind of engineering stuff that's... where do I find this? Farmer G, he will address this so that people like you cannot be able to say that he didn't address it. But he will not be addressing it like I did. He will not be going through points. He will not be apologizing for anything but the Billet Lab situation. And then he will point towards just how much he has put into smaller companies. That this mistake happened only once. And Arafat, thank you so much for saying Bella is stunning. She truly is. Any Luke Tip, any idea on what website I should be looking for? Do we get like the whole breakdown on something like this? Linus didn't offer to pay. Oh yeah, here posted their public statement. I found it, right? Is it, did you mean this on Reddit? You, the PC community, are amazing. We would like to thank you for your support. It means more than you can imagine. Steve at Gamers Nexus has publicly shown his integrity at the huge risk of backlash, and we have nothing but respect for him for how he's handled himself. Yeah, I am now on Reddit. Okay, so I think the chat should now be caught up with what I'm seeing. Regarding LTT, yeah, there's like a small delay. This is why my videos have like this cutoff ending, because apparently I should now be saying like my goodbye and then waiting like 10 seconds before I push the button on OBS. It's like so insane. That's not how it should work. Regarding LTT, we're simply going to state the relevant facts. On the 10th of August, we were told by LTT via email that the block had been sold at auction. There was no apology? What? We replied within 30 minutes telling LTT that this wasn't okay, and this was a prototype that cost apparently a 4-figure sum by itself, and we asked if they planned to reimburse us at all. We received no reply and no offer of payment until okay, that's from 10th of August. So was the original video like in June, and then like throughout everything it happened, then like only on the 10th of August did Linus let them know. But no, well, okay, the 10th of August. Wait, the 10th of August. Okay, so 6 days ago. So before, at least Linus contacted them about this before the video. Imagine if they hadn't even known that it was auction off, and only from like publicly available information. And the community learned that before Billet Labs did. That's fucking insane. We received no reply, no offer of payment until 2 hours after. Oh my! This was happening while I was basically preparing the stream, and oh my god! At which point Linus himself emailed us directly. Good for him. The exact monetary value of the prototype was offered as reimbursement. We have not received nor have we asked for any other form of my god, those dudes are like too chill. Like no other form of compensation. They should be like saying you are now forced to advertise our products for the next year for free. Forget your Skillshare stuff. Now all Skillshare ads are Billet Lab ads. About the future of Billet Labs, we don't plan to mourn our missing block. We are already hard at work making another one to use for PC case development. And so okay, so this seems to be like you would also get like a specific PC case. So Linus like saying that like, oh, it doesn't fit into many cases. Apparently it's like such an exotic product, it's not even really meant to. So you're probably not only spending like $800 on this, but probably like another $200-300 on a somewhat more exotic case as well. Yes, it sucks that the prototype has gone. It slowed us, but has absolutely not stopped us. We have pre-orders for it and plan to push ahead with our first production run as soon as we can. Kind of would have been super base if they would be able to give a date, but I understand that they cannot. We have also some exciting new products on our website that are available to buy now. And I think that hopefully this is what people buy so that they legit get some cash influx from them. Because everything else has been such a shit show. I hope it turns out to the best for them. We thank everyone who has bought them so far, and we can't wait to see what you do with them. We're happy to answer any questions, but we won't be commenting on LTT. Okay, clearly they don't want to fully burn down that bridge, or the specifics of the email exchanges, clearly afraid of some kind of lawyery response from Linus. We're going to concentrate on making cool stuff and innovative product, and the monoblock is basically just one of those. With hope, LTT implements the necessary changes to stop a situation like this happening again. Peace out, Felix and Dean from Billet Labs. Responses. No reply until after Gamers Nexus went live. Sheesh. Terrible look. All makes sense why GN not reaching out prior to the video coming out was such a big deal for him. Yeah, because he was a shithead, and it basically prevented him from covering his shithead ass. Did you tell Linus that you would be making a comment? Apparently that is... Okay, that's funny. I thought for a second this person was serious. Apparently that is proper journalistic practices. That's funny. Thea and Chai, Linus contacted them only after Jen's video. Yeah, of course. It's terrible, but like, at least we get some funny responses. They didn't give me a chance to pre-spin this. Now I have to play catch up. Yep. Why didn't Linus reach out to Billet Labs if he thinks that proper journalistic practice? Edit our opponents for instructions on how to remove stickers from mouse feed. Oh my god. That's not how internet feudalism works. The smaller creators are obliged to their lords, not the other way around. Okay, now I'm doing a Scottish accent. He who have the bigger platform have the more power. If Linus is any clever, he will just buy that company, make a dozen videos about perfecting that blog, and cash in the investment through views before he sells the product on the LTT. Now featuring our 25-pound copper block that fits so well into your LTT backpack. In fact, for the combined price of just $250, you get our LTT backpack and a $5 coupon for our $800 copper cooling assembly here. Keep scrolling down. There's replies in this thread from Billet Labs about the most recent update. Okay. I wonder how many times Linus contracted Best Buy or Dell when he did his random shopper experience and warranty claim videos. Exactly, that was the entire point here. Once, he already said why he wouldn't spend $1,200 to do something. Okay, that's different. On 10th of August, we were told by LTT via email that the block had been sold. We received no reply. Okay, that's just... The real reason was upset was, yes, Billet guys try reaching out Jace 2 cents. That's true. He could probably help. Oh, Billet Labs update. For full transparency, Linus contacted us this evening saying it's likely he can get the block back from the buyer. We have declined this offer and asked for the previously agreed monetary value instead of for the valuing reasons. We have already spent a significant percentage of the value of the block in the last few days on replacement parts to build a new block, assuming we'd never see the original again. That's 100% fair. This is not an excuse if they're building up new high quality prototypes with the money that was expected. Yeah, of course. Going out down the artesian route, yes. Can't wait for this new shirt. It's better than the Trust Me Bro. It was auctioned instead. It's so stupid. Like, this is why corporate talk is such bullshit. It's so easy to dissect when you know even a little bit. We do not know if the original block is still in good working condition. That's fair. And how much money will be needed to fix it if it's not. It could also like break like 3 times over in shipping. We don't know if... Also, by the way, Linus already fucked up that original block. So even if Linus had given it back to them, they probably would have still been entitled to a monetary compensation. This idea that the block was okay when Linus auctioned it off is already not quite true. But yeah, of course, nothing is still okay after being manhandled by Linus. We don't know if any of the bespoke fittings are missing. Each of this costs money to replace, yes. And because it's a prototype, they're bespoke. This is why it's not a mass-produced product. LTT have had our 3090 Ti without using it for 9 weeks. Can you imagine? Oh my god. So we have lost confidence that they will return items quickly. This is such a good jab. It's also like when Linus originally implied that he would have to spend $800 to procure a 3090 Ti. That was also a lie at that point. And then he only tried to focus on like the manpower cost. LTT isn't currently in possession of the block. They've only said that they can get it back. We therefore don't know when we'd get it back, and time is of the essence. Agreed? LTT has confirmed that the block is with a private individual rather than a rival company, so lost IP is much less of an issue. Thank God. Actually, really good of me doing the freaking stream right after all the information is coming out. What is that doing? Okay, I have no idea if that is reading anything out. We wanted to state this publicly, just in case anyone has any issues with the fact that the block has potentially been found, and we chose to take the money instead. We hope you understand our reasoning here. We can have our new block that we're I think they kind of would be entitled to the money and the block, to be honest, just to reduce the risk, and I think that's what Linus should do. Like behind the scenes, he should like give them their money, then get the block back, and then send it to them with an apology letter. So when they get it, they actually feel some good vibes from him. I think if Linus does this, it would still be mostly PR. I made this up as a PR move, but I think it could actually work, and I think his sycophants would like really eat it up. We hope you understand our reasoning here. We can have our new block that we are currently making ready. We can have the block basically ready in the next couple of weeks. And we are skeptical that we would have the original block back in fully working condition in that amount of time. It would be a gamble at the very least. Much love, Dean and Felix. Yeah, okay, so you guys should be engraving for the next blocks. Offering this piece for auction is forbidden. Not for resale. And not for auction either. Yeah, so yeah, it's fucked, but at least it's somewhat unfucked now. I'm glad that it's not in the hands of a rival company, though it's always hard to fully prevent that. So yeah, this was a long one once again. I don't think that I have anything else to contribute here. I'm still fully on the side of Gamers Nexus. I think that the Hardware Unboxed video was clearly too soft on Linus. I think that Linus is clearly too soft on Linus. I think his super fans are clearly too soft on him. And I think that the more we do stuff like this, and I'm not saying, believe me, unless there's like a direct response from Linus that is like super spicy, there won't be a chat tomorrow. There won't be a live stream about this tomorrow. I'm probably planning to do a video about Android 14 and One UI 6.0. Like, there are now some interesting videos about this online. Guys, I'm so sorry. I have hair like everywhere. It's not my fault. It's like long hair cats. Like, Arafat, do you have like long hair cats along your five kitties? You should know how difficult it is if you do. Yeah, and of course, people do say smart things. Like, Linus's response is basically gaslighting and circular logic. So, yeah, this is basically it. It lasted already quite a long time in comparison to what I planned on doing. Sorry, I have no idea what's happening here. So, I'm just putting Steve here on the background because he's beautiful. I love his hair. No, it was really fun. I loved you guys. You were really engaged. I think this kind of community is exactly what I want to build here. Funny, insightful, but also critical of like the necessary power structures, be it here on YouTube or in the world. I really appreciated every one of you here. Like last time I didn't appreciate one guy and we had to ban him, but it was also fun. Like, I think you always remember your first ban as a content creator. Yeah, so I hope you guys stay subscribed, even if my next basically like wave of content is somewhat different. If there is something interesting in that field, I will definitely be updating you through some way. Please follow me on Twitter You can find the link there. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, if you are interested. And I did leave my Patreon up there. I did just open it 3 days ago. It's definitely not a must. Maybe if some of you are absolutely loaded, you could consider it. But yeah, that's basically it. There isn't that much else that I want to point out. Arafat, yes, not currently, but I had full... Oh my god, Persian cats are like my favorites visually, so yeah, I fully understand. He needed more maintenance than 5 of my other short-haired cats combined. Yeah, it's such a mess, but they're so beautiful. You don't want to give them up for this, even if you're like a little allergic like me. So, yes, thank you guys so much. Thank you for the awesome interactions. I've pointed out all the YouTube shit that you can do for me. I see you guys next time. This is Mark Tech saying thank you and tuning out.